Welcome to Hero Academia Hub. Today we bring you an unforgettable story. What if Izuku was dragged into Hazbin Hotel and became Hell's Emperor with breeding harem of demon queens loving our content? Smash that like button and join our family by subscribing. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let the story begin. Chapter 1, Descent and Defiance. The dimensional rift tore open like a wound in reality, and Izuku Midoriya had exactly half a second to make a choice. Behind him, 3 civilians, a mother and her 2 kids, stood frozen in terror. The villain's quirk had already shredded through 2 city blocks, creating holes in space that led to somewhere else. Somewhere wrong. The air coming through smelled like sulfur and copper. The villain laughed, his arms wreathed in that sickening purple-black energy. Let's see where this one goes, hero. Izuku didn't think. He moved. One for all surged through his legs as he launched himself at the civilians, wrapping his arms around all 3 and pivoting hard. His back hit the rift's edge just as it expanded. The mother and children tumbled safely to the asphalt. Izuku fell into nothing. The void was cold and hot at the same time. Colors that shouldn't exist burned past his vision. He tried to activate full cowling, but OFA sputtered and crackled like a dying engine, green lightning arcing wildly across his body before cutting out completely. Then gravity remembered he existed, and he was falling for real. Red sky. Buildings that looked wrong, twisted, gothic, covered in neon signs advertising things he didn't want to think about. A massive pentagram emblazoned across the horizon like a second sun. Izuku activated OFA again. Nothing. Just a weak flicker in his fingertips. Come on, 20% power surged through him for exactly 1 second. He used it to twist his body, to aim for a rooftop instead of the street. The power cut out and he hit hard, rolling through decades of combat training to distribute the impact. Still hurt like hell. Pun not intended, but accurate. He lay there for a moment, cataloging injuries. Bruised ribs, definitely. Sprained wrist, maybe. Alive, certainly. He pushed himself up and looked around. The rooftop belonged to what might have been an apartment building if apartments were designed by someone who really liked spikes and skulls. The air tasted thick and wrong. His skin felt too warm even though there was no sun, just that red sky and distant flames on the horizon. Movement below. He crept to the edge and looked down. Demons. Actual demons, horns, tails, skin and colors. Humans didn't come in. They were gathered around something in the alley, laughing and jeering. Did you see that? Something fell from the sky. Probably another suicide. Let's go check for valuables. I saw green lightning. Maybe it's something fun. Izuku pulled back from the edge. His hero costume was torn but recognizable, mostly green with black accents, the design he'd worked so hard on. His mask was gone, lost in the void transit. Okay. Assessment time. He was in what appeared to be hell. Actual hell. His quirk wasn't working reliably. He had no backup, no communication, no way home that he could see. There were demons coming to investigate his landing site. 2 options, hide and gather information, or establish himself as not easy prey immediately. Izuku had spent years being underestimated. He was done with that. He dropped off the roof, landing in a crouch right in front of the approaching demon pack. There were 5 of them. 2 were large and brutish, red-skinned with horns that curved back from their foreheads. 1 was thin and serpentine, scales catching what passed for light down here. The last 2 looked almost human except for the extra eyes and the way their mouths opened too wide. They all stopped when Izuku appeared. What the fuck is that? The serpentine one hissed. Smells human. One of the big ones stepped forward, cracking knuckles that had way too many joints. Fresh human. Not a sinner, not processed. How'd you get here, little morsel? Izuku straightened up. His wrist was definitely sprained, but his legs were fine. More importantly, years of training with pros like Aizawa and Gran Torino had taught him that fighting wasn't just about power. I fell through a dimensional rift. He kept his voice calm, analytical. I'm trying to figure out where I am and how to get home. I don't want trouble. The demons laughed. He doesn't want trouble. The serpent demon slithered closer. That's adorable. Do you know what fresh human souls go for down here? Your payday, baby. I'm not a soul. I'm alive. That made them pause. Bullshit, one of the almost human demons said. Living humans don't come to hell. That's not how it works. And yet here I am. The big red demon apparently decided he'd heard enough. He charged. Izuku had fought villains with strength-enhancing quirks, speed quirks, transformation quirks. He'd sparred with All Might, trained with Endeavor, survived Bakugo's explosions at point-blank range. One demon wasn't going to end him. He sidestepped the charge, using the demon's momentum against him. A precise strike to the inside of the knee, the joint was structured similarly to a human's despite the extra mass, buckled the demon's leg. As it stumbled, Izuku grabbed its horn and used it as a pivot point, swinging himself up and over. His heel connected with the back of the demon's skull. It went down. 4 seconds. One opponent eliminated. The others rushed him at once. Izuku moved. Serpent Demon was fastest, he ducked under its lunge and drove his elbow into its throat. The almost human demons came from both sides, he grabbed one's arm and redirected it into the other's face. The second big demon threw a punch that would have taken his head off if it connected. It didn't. Izuku was already inside its guard, driving his good fist into its solar plexus. Demons apparently had those too. Green lightning flickered across his skin. OFA trying to activate, failing, trying again. The serpent recovered faster than expected, wrapping around Izuku's legs and yanking him down. He hit the ground hard, felt scales constricting around his torso. Got you now, morsel, OFA surged to life. Maybe 5% power, but it was enough. Izuku flexed and the coils around him shattered. He was on his feet before the serpent could recover, and one punch, 5% but clean and precise, launched it into the alley wall hard enough to crack brick. The power cut out again immediately. His arms ached. But the remaining demons were backing up now, eyes wide. What the fuck are you? One of the almost humans whispered. I'm a hero. Izuku rolled his shoulders, settling into a ready stance. And I already told you, I don't want trouble. But I'm not going to run from it either. They ran instead. Izuku let them go. He needed information more than he needed to prove anything else, and beating up the local wildlife wasn't going to get him home. He also needed medical attention for his wrist, somewhere safe to rest, and ideally someone who could explain how hell actually worked. The sound of clapping made him spin around. A woman stood at the mouth of the alley. Tall, blonde hair that faded to pink at the tips, rosy red cheeks, and eyes that were literally red, irises like fresh blood. She wore a red suit jacket and black bow tie, and she was smiling like she'd just witnessed something wonderful. That was amazing. She rushed forward, and Izuku instinctively stepped back before realizing she wasn't attacking. A real fight. And you won. Without even using that glowing power thing properly. Who are you? Oh. Right, sorry, I'm just excited. She thrust out a hand. Charlotte Morningstar. But everyone calls me Charlie. I run the Hazbin Hotel. Well, I'm starting it, anyway. It's a rehabilitation center for sinners. A place where demons can redeem themselves and go to heaven. Izuku blinked. Then he blinked again. Did you say redemption? In hell? Yes. Charlie's smile somehow got even brighter. Everyone thinks I'm crazy but I know it's possible. Demons aren't just evil by default, they're people who made mistakes and never got a chance to fix them. If we could just help them be better, find their goodness, that's. Izuku trailed off. He'd met a lot of people in his hero career. Idealists usually got crushed by reality. But the way Charlie was talking, it reminded him of himself at 14, telling everyone he could be a hero without a quirk. That's actually really admirable, he finished. Charlie's eyes went wide. You think so? Most people laugh at me. Or tell me I'm being naive. Or call me a waste of the Morningstar name. Morningstar. Like. Lucifer Morningstar. That's my dad. Of course it was. Izuku had somehow landed in hell and the first person he met was Satan's daughter. Who wanted to rehabilitate demons. This was either a very elaborate prank or the universe had officially lost its mind. Miss Charlotte, Charlie. Charlie. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm a human, a living human, from Earth. I got pulled through a dimensional rift by accident. I need to find a way home. Charlie's expression shifted from enthusiastic to deeply curious. A living human. That's. I've never heard of that happening before. Souls come here after death, but living beings. That's unprecedented. I noticed. Izuku looked around at the hellscape surrounding them. I'm assuming that's going to cause problems. Probably, Charlie admitted. Hell isn't exactly welcoming to outsiders. And if word spreads that there's a living human here. She trailed off, looking uncomfortable. What? Well, a lot of powerful demons might want to claim you. A living human soul is supposedly incredibly valuable. Like, break the economy valuable. Great. Just great. Then I need to stay hidden while I figure out how to get home. Charlie grabbed his hand before he could move. Come with me. The hotel, it's not much yet, but it's protected. My family name keeps most troublemakers away. You can stay there while we figure this out. Every instinct told Izuku to be cautious. This was hell. Nothing was free down here, probably. But Charlie's eyes held no deception that he could see, and honestly, he didn't have better options. Okay. But I need to understand, why are you helping me? Charlie's smile softened into something more genuine. Because you're a person who needs help. Because you fought those demons but you didn't kill them. Because when I told you about my redemption project, you didn't laugh. She squeezed his hand. And because maybe a living human hero appearing in hell is a sign. A sign that things can change down here. Izuku had stopped believing in signs when he was 4 years old and got diagnosed as quirkless. But he'd stopped believing in himself too, until All Might told him he could be a hero. Maybe hell could use someone who believed in impossible things. Lead the way, Charlie. The Hazbin Hotel was exactly as chaotic as Izuku expected and somehow worse. The building itself looked like a Victorian manor that had been possessed by a circus and then set on fire. Warm light spilled from windows that shouldn't have been structurally possible. A sign out front declared Hazbin Hotel, a place for sinners to be rehabilitated in cheerful letters that clashed violently with everything around it. Home sweet home. Charlie pushed open the front door and gestured for Izuku to enter. The lobby was trying. Worn carpet that might have been nice a century ago. A bar in the corner, staffed by a demon who looked like a particularly grumpy cat. Chairs and tables scattered around with actual demonic patrons, most of whom looked up when Izuku walked in. Whispers started immediately. Is that a human? Smells living. What the fuck? Charlie, what did you bring home this time? A moth demon stormed over, gray hair pulled back, single eye narrowed with suspicion. Charlie. Explain. Now. Vaggie. This is. Charlie paused. Actually, I never got your name. Izuku Midoriya. Izuku. He's a living human from another dimension and he needs our help. Vagi's expression somehow became even more hostile. A living human. In hell. And you brought him here? Where else was I supposed to take him? The streets? He'd be torn apart. That's not our problem. It's my problem. I'm not going to abandon someone who needs help just because it's inconvenient. Izuku watched the argument volley back and forth. He got it, Vagi was protective of Charlie, suspicious of strangers, probably right to be cautious. But standing here while they talked about him like he wasn't present wasn't going to work. Excuse me. He stepped between them, which made Vagi's hand drop to a weapon at her hip. I understand your concern. You don't know me, and bringing a stranger into your home is a risk. But I can pay my way. Vagi snorted. With what? Earth money's worthless here. With this. Izuku tapped his temple. I'm a hero where I come from. Analyzing situations, threats, power dynamics, that's what I do. You're running a hotel for rehabilitation, right? You need protection from people who think the project is a joke. You need strategies for dealing with hell's politics. I can help with that. You just got here. You don't know anything about hell's politics. No. But I learn fast. Izuku met Vagi's eye steadily. I took down 5 demons 20 minutes ago with minimal use of my abilities. I can read fighting styles, identify weaknesses, develop countermeasures. Give me a day and I'll know enough about your major threats to be useful. Give me a week and I'll be an asset you can't afford to lose. Vagi stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed, a short, sharp sound. Confident little shit, aren't you? I'm 19 and I've been training to fight since I was 14. Confidence is what keeps me alive. Holy shit, he's baby. A new voice drew everyone's attention. A tall, incredibly thin demon with white and pink fur sauntered over, moving with the kind of deliberate sensuality that Izuku recognized as a weapon in itself. Charlie, you brought home an actual baby. Angel Dust, he's not a baby, he's a hero, same thing, toots. The spider demon, because that was definitely spider anatomy, too many limbs hidden under a fluffy coat, circled Izuku with open appreciation. Look at those muscles. And that face. Bit of a mess right now but cleaned up, I'm standing right here. I know, sweetie. That's the point. Angel Dust winked with more eyes than should be possible. Name's Angel Dust. I work here. Sort of. It's complicated. You're adorable. Thanks. Izuku wasn't sure how to handle this energy. It wasn't threatening exactly, just very much. Angel, stop harassing the new guest. The cat demon from the bar had wandered over, drink in hand. Kids had a rough day by the look of him. I'm not harassing, Husk, I'm appreciating. There's a difference. Aha. Izuku took a breath and tried to regain control of the situation. I appreciate the welcome. Truly. But I need to understand where I am and what I'm dealing with. Can someone give me a basic overview of Hell's power structure? Everyone exchanged looks. You want the political breakdown? Charlie asked. Now. Information is survival. And if there are people who are going to come after me because I'm a living human, I need to know who they are before they know where to find me. Husk chuckled into his drink. Kid's got a point. Alright, here's the quick version. Hell's got 7 rings, 1 for each deadly sin. We're in Pride Ring, Pentagram City specifically. The king of Hell is Lucifer, but he doesn't really run things day to day anymore. Powers split between overlords, big shot demons who've claimed territory and influence. Biggest names you need to worry about are the Versus, Vox, Valentino, and Velvet. They run media, the flesh trade, and social influence respectively. The Versus, Izuku repeated, filing that away. Who else? Alaster, the radio demon. Showed up about a century ago and killed his way to the top of the food chain. He's unpredictable. Doesn't seem to want territory or money, just entertainment. Carmilla Carmine runs the weapons trade, Vaggie added, apparently deciding to participate. She's powerful but keeps to herself mostly. Rosie controls Cannibal Town, don't ask, and there are a bunch of other mid-tier overlords constantly fighting for scraps. And above the overlords? The Morningstar family. Charlie, Lucifer, and... Vaggie hesitated. Lilith. The Queen of Hell. Though no one's seen her in years. Charlie's expression flickered with something painful at her mother's name. Izuku noted it but didn't press. One more thing, Husk said. Every year, Heaven sends exorcists to kill demons. Population control or something. It's called the extermination. Next one's in about 2 months. Heaven sends angels to kill demons. I thought the whole point of hell was punishment. Welcome to cosmic politics, kid. Nothing makes sense. Izuku's mind was already racing. Overlords competing for power, an absent king, annual cullings from heaven, and now a living human dropped into the mix. This wasn't just survival, this was a powder keg waiting for a spark. And if he was going to survive long enough to find a way home, he needed to not be a spark. He needed to be the one holding the matches. Charlie, he said slowly, you said your redemption project is supposed to help demons get to heaven? That's the idea. What if it could do more than that? What if it could change how hell itself operates? Charlie's eyes went wide. That's a much bigger goal. You're the princess of hell. You have legitimacy. You have a vision that nobody else is pursuing. And now you have someone who spent 5 years studying how to analyze threats and develop strategies against them. Izuku smiled slightly. I need allies to survive here. You need someone who can help make your dream reality. Seems like we can help each other. Vaggie looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Charlie's expression stopped her. You really think you can help? Charlie asked quietly. I think I can try. And where I come from, that's how everything impossible starts. Charlie's smile returned, brighter than hell's red sky. Izuku Midoriya, I think you and I are going to do amazing things together. The room they gave him was small but functional. Bed, desk, closet. A window that looked out over Pentagram City's jagged skyline. Izuku sat on the bed and started cataloging everything he'd learned. One for All was unreliable here. Something about Hell's dimension interfered with the quirk's operation. He could feel the power inside him, feel the vestiges shifting restlessly, but actually accessing it was like trying to grab smoke. He'd managed brief surges during combat, but nothing sustained. That meant he needed to rely on his base abilities. Good thing UA's hero course had been merciless about physical conditioning. Even without OFA, he was faster, stronger, and more skilled than most people on Earth. Whether that translated to demons remained to be seen. He needed information on key players. The Versus, Vox, Valentino, Velvet, sounded like the immediate threats. Overlords who ran major industries and wouldn't appreciate an unknown element disrupting their control. Alastair was a wild card. Carmilla Carmine might be an ally if he could offer value. And Lucifer. Charlie's father was either going to be his greatest asset or his worst enemy. He needed to establish himself as valuable enough that attacking him would cost more than it gained. That meant public actions, visible competence, alliances with existing power structures. He needed to understand Charlie's redemption project and how to make it work for both of them. A knock at the door interrupted his planning. Come in. Charlie poked her head in, looking slightly nervous. Hey. Just wanted to check on you. Make sure you have everything you need. I'm fine. Thank you for the hospitality. Of course. I mean, it's the least I could do. She stepped fully into the room, hands clasped in front of her. I know this must be so overwhelming. Falling into hell, fighting demons, being told everything about our politics, most people would be freaking out. I did freak out. Just internally. I'm very good at internal freaking out by now. Charlie laughed, and some of the tension left her shoulders. That's, actually relatable. I've been internally freaking out about the hotel for months. Everyone thinks I'm just optimistic all the time, but really I'm terrified that nothing's going to work and I'll have failed everyone. Izuku studied her for a moment. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Why redemption? You're a princess of hell. You could be doing anything, ruling, conquering, whatever demons typically do with power. Why focus on helping sinners become better? Charlie was quiet for a moment. She moved to the window, looking out at the city. Because I've seen what hell does to people. The violence, the cruelty, the constant competition. Everyone hurting everyone else because that's just how things are. But I grew up seeing moments that proved it didn't have to be that way. Demons who showed kindness when no one was watching. Sinners who regretted their lives and wished they could change. She turned back to him. I believe people can be better. I believe they want to be better, most of them. They just need someone to give them a chance. Even though everyone tells you it's impossible. Especially because everyone tells me it's impossible. Izuku smiled. You know, back on Earth, I was born without any powers. Quirkless, they called me. No abilities, no chance of being a hero. Everyone told me to give up, to be realistic, to accept my place. But you didn't. No. I didn't. Someone gave me a chance, and I spent 5 years proving that the impossible could be done. He met her eyes. So when I tell you I think your dream is admirable, I mean it. I've been where you are. And I know that sometimes being the person who believes in impossible things is exactly what the world needs. Charlie's expression shifted through several emotions, surprise, gratitude, something softer that Izuku wasn't sure how to categorize. Thank you, she said quietly. That means more than you know. Get some sleep, Charlie. We can start planning properly tomorrow. She nodded, heading for the door. She paused with her hand on the frame. Izuku? I'm really glad you fell into hell. Is that weird to say? Little bit. But I appreciate it. She grinned and disappeared into the hallway. Izuku turned back to the window. His reflection stared back at him, torn hero costume, messy green hair, eyes that had seen too much for 19 years. He was stuck in hell with an unreliable quirk, surrounded by demons, targeted by overlords, and his only allies were the staff of a rehabilitation hotel that everyone thought was a joke. Somehow, this wasn't the worst situation he'd ever been in. Time to get to work. Morning in hell, if you could call the slight shift in the red sky's intensity morning, found Izuku in the hotel's main room with a stack of paper and a pen he'd borrowed from Charlie. He'd been up for hours, unable to sleep properly. Too much adrenaline, too many variables, and honestly, sleeping in hell felt like asking for trouble. Instead, he'd started mapping out everything he knew. Overlord territories. Known abilities of major players. Resources available at the hotel. His own capabilities and limitations. The last category was the most frustrating. OFA had activated 3 times since he'd arrived, never for more than a few seconds. He could feel it inside him, all that power, all those previous users, but actually using it was like trying to catch lightning in a bottle that kept shifting shapes. You look like shit, Husk observed, refilling Izuku's coffee cup without being asked. Didn't sleep. Couldn't. Too much to process. Yeah, hell does that to people. The cat demon glanced at Izuku's notes. You're actually serious about this strategy stuff. I told you I was. People say a lot of things. Most of them are bullshit. Husk shrugged. But you've got that look. The one that says you're actually gonna try. What look is that? The look Charlie had when she pitched this hotel idea to her dad. The look that gets people killed down here, usually. Izuku set down his pen. What happened when she pitched it to Lucifer? He laughed. Not meanly, just, he didn't take it seriously. Nobody does. Charlie's the princess, everybody loves her, but they love her like a mascot. Something cute to have around. Not someone who could actually change things. And you? What do you think? Husk was quiet for a moment, then snorted. I think she's got a better chance now than she did yesterday. And I've been in hell long enough to know that that's something. Before Izuku could respond, the hotel's front door slammed open. Angel Dust stumbled in, looking significantly worse than he had the night before. His fur was matted, one of his arms hung at an awkward angle, and there was something dark staining his usually white coat. Angel. Charlie rushed over from wherever she'd been. What happened? Valentino happened. Angel's voice was rough, pained. He heard about the human. Sent some of his boys to deliver a message. Izuku was on his feet before he consciously decided to move. They did this because of me. Don't flatter yourself, hero boy. Val doesn't need a reason to be an asshole. But yeah, knowing there's a living human at the hotel gave him an excuse. Angel winced as Charlie helped him to a chair. He wants you, by the way. Says a living human would be a real prize in his collection. His collection? Angel, Vaggie interrupted, her expression dark, you don't have to, nah, new guy should know what he's dealing with. Angel Dust's multiple eyes fixed on Izuku. Valentino runs the flesh trade. Prostitution, trafficking, the whole works. He owns people like me. Contract demons. We're his property until we buy ourselves out or die permanent like. That's. Izuku struggled to find the right word. That's slavery. It's hell, baby. Welcome to the party. Izuku's hands clenched at his sides. This was exactly the kind of thing heroes existed to stop. People being hurt, exploited, owned by more powerful forces because nobody was willing to stand up and say no. He'd been in hell for less than a day and he already wanted to burn it all down and rebuild it better. Angel, I'm sorry this happened because of me. Not your fault. Like I said, Val doesn't need reasons. Angel let Charlie fuss over his injuries, though his casual acceptance of the violence made Izuku's stomach churn. Just figured you should know what's coming. Val wants you. And when Valentino wants something, he usually gets it. Usually. Angel's expression shifted into something sharp and evaluating. You really think you can fight back? Against an overlord? I think I don't have a choice. If I run, I'm always running. If I hide, I'm always hiding. Izuku met Angel's gaze steadily. Where I come from, heroes don't let people hurt others just because they're more powerful. And I might be in hell, but I'm still a hero. The room was quiet. Then Angel Dust laughed, not mocking, but surprised. Genuine. Holy shit. You actually mean that? I do. Kid, you're either gonna change everything or die screaming. Probably both. Angel shook his head, still laughing. Fuck it. I want a front row seat either way. Izuku spent the rest of the morning getting a crash course in Valentino from Angel Dust. The Overlord was one of the Versus, a triumvirate of media moguls who controlled information, entertainment, and social influence in hell. Vox handled technology and broadcasting. Velvet managed trends and public perception. And Valentino. Valentino dealt in flesh. He ran studios that produced everything from legitimate entertainment to the darkest kinds of exploitation. His contracts bound demons to his service, using fine print and desperation to trap people who had no other options. He was powerful, connected, and absolutely ruthless. He's also got a massive ego, Angel added. Like, astronomical. He needs to be the most impressive person in any room. Can't stand being upstaged or outsmarted. Izuku filed that away. Ego was a weakness. Ego made people predictable. What about physical capabilities? Strong as shit. Fast too. And he's got this control thing. Pheromones or something. Gets in your head, makes you want to please him even when you know it's wrong. Angel's voice went flat on that last part, and Izuku didn't push. Can it be resisted? If you know it's coming and you've got decent willpower, yeah. But most people don't know and most people fold. Mental influence. That was concerning, but Izuku had trained with Shinso during his UA years. He knew how to guard his thoughts, how to maintain focus even when his mind was being attacked. What about his operation? Business structure, key lieutenants, vulnerable points. Angel raised an eyebrow. You really are analyzing this like a military campaign. It's what I do. I find patterns, identify weaknesses, develop strategies. Every enemy has exploitable points, even overlords. Even Lucifer. Izuku paused. Then, carefully, I'll let you know when I figure that one out. Angel laughed again, this time with something that might have been respect. Okay, hero boy. You want to know about Val's operation? Let me tell you about his ex-wife. Her name was V, not to be confused with the V triumvirate, which was an unfortunate coincidence. She'd been Valentino's partner for decades, helping him build his empire from the ground up. But when Vox came into the picture, offering technological advantages and a three-way partnership, Valentino had discarded her like yesterday's trash. Now she ran underground establishments that competed directly with Valentino's operations. The key difference, she actually treated her workers well. Fair contracts, reasonable hours, no exploitation. She'd taken everything she hated about being married to Valentino and built the opposite. She's been looking for a way to take him down for years, Angel said. Problem is, the Versus have too much combined power. She can't move without getting crushed. But if someone else destabilized Valentino first, she might be willing to help. Izuku nodded slowly. An ally with inside knowledge of Valentino's operations, motivated by personal revenge and a genuine desire to see him fall. That was exactly the kind of resource he needed. Can you get me a meeting with her? Angel stared at him. You've been in hell for one day. And I've already been targeted by an overlord. Waiting around isn't going to make me safer. Izuku leaned forward. You said Valentino hurt you because of me. I want to make that right. And the only way to do that is to take away his power to hurt anyone. That's a big goal for a human. I have big goals. It's kind of my thing. Angel was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a phone, somehow even hell had smartphones, and started typing. I'll set something up. But if this goes sideways, I'm telling everyone you forced me. Fair enough. The meeting with V was scheduled for later that evening, which gave Izuku time to prepare. He asked Charlie for a map of Pentagram City, studied Valentino's known territories, and outlined several possible approaches for the conversation. He was so focused that he almost didn't notice the new presence in the hotel lobby. Almost. The air itself seemed to twist when the figure appeared. Static crackled at the edges of Izuku's perception, and suddenly there was a tall demon standing in the middle of the room where nothing had been before. Red suit. Wide smile full of yellow teeth. Antlers branching from his head like television antennas. Eyes that glowed with a frequency that made Izuku's instincts scream danger even though the demon wasn't doing anything threatening. Well, well, well. The voice echoed strangely, like it was coming through an old radio. What do we have here? Charlie, my dear, you've been keeping secrets. Alastair. Charlie's voice was carefully neutral. I didn't know you were visiting today. Spontaneity keeps existence interesting, wouldn't you agree? The radio demon's gaze fixed on Izuku, and his smile somehow widened. And you must be the living human everyone's buzzing about. Literally, in my case. Izuku stood slowly, keeping his hands visible. Everything he'd learned about Alastor suggested the demon was unpredictable, incredibly powerful, and motivated primarily by entertainment. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Oh, I know. Alastor appeared directly in front of him without seeming to move, just suddenly there, that grinning face inches away. The hero of hell. Fighting demons in alleyways, refusing to fear Valentino, and now plotting to reshape the very fabric of our little inferno. I wouldn't call it plotting, please, don't be modest. It's unbecoming. Alastor circled him like a shark, still smiling. I've been watching you since you arrived. Fascinating viewing, really. Most humans would be cowering or begging or dead by now. But you? He stopped, tapping one clawed finger against his chin. You're planning. I can practically hear those gears turning. Is there something you want, Alastor? Want? The demon laughed, and the sound was genuine even as it made the lights flicker. My dear boy, I want entertainment. I want chaos and drama and schemes within schemes. And you, little hero, are the most entertaining thing to happen in hell in decades. I'm flattered. You should be. Alastor's expression shifted into something more contemplative. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to continue your amusing crusade. You're going to make enemies and allies and turn hell on its head. And I'm going to watch. Just watch. For now. The smile returned, sharp and knowing. I won't help you, but I won't hinder you either. Consider it, professional curiosity. You see, I've grown rather bored with hell's current dynamics. Same overlords, same conflicts, same predictable power plays. But you? He leaned in close. You're unpredictable. And unpredictable is my favorite thing. Izuku forced himself to remain calm. Alastor was testing him, looking for reactions, treating this like a show. The worst thing Izuku could do was give him the entertainment of seeing fear. Then I hope I don't disappoint, Izuku said evenly. Alastor's eyes widened fractionally. Then he laughed again, this time with what seemed like genuine delight. Oh, I don't think you will. No, I don't think you will at all. He stepped back, adjusting his coat. Well, I must be going. So many things to watch, so little eternity. But I'll be keeping an eye on you, Izuku Midoriya. Dio tried to make it interesting. Static crackled, and he was gone. Izuku let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. What the fuck was that? Vaggie had appeared from somewhere, spear in hand, looking furious. Alastor was in here and nobody thought to warn me. He just appeared, Charlie said weakly. You know how he is. I know he's dangerous. And now he's interested in the new guy. That's not good. Actually, Izuku said slowly, it might be. Everyone stared at him. Alastor said he won't help or hinder me. That means he won't move against me while he's entertained. And if I'm interesting enough, that protection extends to anyone associated with me. He looked at Charlie. Including the hotel. That's a very optimistic interpretation, Vaggie said flatly. Maybe. But I'm working with what I have. And knowing that the radio demon isn't going to actively oppose me is better than not knowing. Husk snorted from behind the bar. Kid's got a point. Alastor being entertained is a lot safer than Alastor being bored. Vaggie looked like she wanted to argue more, but Charlie put a hand on her arm. Let's just focus on the meeting with V tonight. One crisis at a time. One crisis at a time, Izuku agreed. Speaking of which, I should finish preparing. He headed back to his room, mind racing. Valentino was coming for him. Alastor was watching him. Heaven was apparently going to try to kill everyone in a few months. And he still had no idea how to get home. But he had allies, or at least potential allies. He had his mind and his training. And he had something that hell apparently hadn't seen in a long time, someone who refused to play by its rules. Time to see how that played out. V's establishment was hidden beneath a nightclub in one of Pentagram City's seedier districts. Angel Dust led Izuku through a maze of back alleys and coded doors, finally descending a staircase into what looked like a high-end lounge. Demons of various shapes lounged on plush furniture, drinks in hand, chatting and laughing. The atmosphere was relaxed. Comfortable in a way that didn't match what Izuku had seen of hell so far. Different from Val's places, right? Angel said, watching Izuku's reaction. Nobody here's working under threat. They're here because they want to be. Is that rare? In this industry? Almost unheard of. A succubus in a tasteful red dress approached them, smiling. Angel Dust. It's been a while. Hey, Gloria. My friend here has a meeting with the boss. Gloria's eyes flicked to Izuku, evaluating. The human. She's been expecting you. Follow me. They wove through the lounge to a private door at the back. Gloria knocked twice, paused, knocked 3 more times. Come in. The office beyond was elegant without being ostentatious. Dark wood, comfortable chairs, shelves lined with books and what looked like ledgers. Behind the desk sat a woman who made Izuku's tactical instincts immediately start cataloging threats. V. Valentino was beautiful in the way that demons often were, in human angles and colors that shouldn't work but did. Her skin was a deep burgundy, her hair black and flowing, her eyes gold with slit pupils like a snake. She wore a business suit that probably cost more than Izuku's entire hero costume, and her expression as she studied him gave nothing away. The living human. Her voice was smooth, controlled. You're younger than I expected. I get that a lot. Izuku sat in the offered chair, keeping his posture open but ready. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank Angel. He was very persuasive. V's eyes flickered to the spider demon, who had claimed a seat near the door. He says you want to take down my ex-husband. I want to stop him from hurting people. If that means taking him down, then yes. Noble sentiment. Rare in hell. V leaned back, steepling her fingers. I've been working toward that goal for years. What makes you think you can accomplish what I haven't? Fresh perspective. Different resources. And I don't have history with him, no emotional blind spots, no personal patterns he can predict. You're also new to hell, with minimal power base, and being actively hunted by one of the most powerful beings in the realm. Also true. Izuku met her gaze steadily. But I've spent my whole life taking on challenges people said were impossible. And I've won more than I've lost. V was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, just slightly. I like you. You're either brilliant or suicidal, and in hell, those often look the same. My friends back home would probably agree. Here's what I know, Valentino's power comes from 3 sources. His contracts with demons who serve him. His partnership with Vox and Velvet. And his reputation as someone who can't be challenged. V leaned forward. Damage any one of those pillars, and the whole structure starts to wobble. Damage all 3, and he falls. Which one's the most vulnerable? The partnership. Vox and Valentino have history, but Vox is ultimately pragmatic. If Valentino becomes a liability rather than an asset, Vox will cut him loose. Velvet will follow whoever's winning at the moment. Izuku nodded, filing that away. What about his contracts? Can they be broken? In theory. Contract law in hell is complicated, but there are loopholes. Most demons don't know them, and Valentino's lawyers make sure the fine print is buried deep. But if someone knew where to look. She trailed off meaningfully. You know where to look. I helped write some of those contracts. Back when I thought I was building something worthwhile with him. V's expression hardened. I was naive. I paid for it. But I also kept records. Records that could expose loopholes. Records that could free hundreds of demons from Valentino's control. If they're used correctly. She studied him again. The question is whether you're the person to use them. What would convince you? V stood, walking to a shelf and pulling down a folder. Valentino has a shipment coming in 3 days. Weapons, drugs, and several demons he's acquired from the outer rings. It's moving through the factory district, light security because he doesn't expect anyone to challenge him openly. She handed Izuku the folder. Intercept it. Free the demons. Don't get caught. And if I succeed? Then we'll talk about a real partnership. Her smile turned sharp. And I'll tell you everything you need to know about destroying Valentino's empire piece by piece. Izuku flipped through the folder. Routes, schedules, guard rotations. More detailed than he expected for a test. Why give me this much information if you're not sure about me? Because if you fail, Valentino will probably kill you, and my investment is minimal. But if you succeed... She sat back down, fingers drumming on the desk. If you succeed, you might be exactly what I've been waiting for. A weapon. A partner. Someone who actually cares about the outcome instead of just the power. Her eyes met his. Do you know how rare that is, in hell? Someone who wants to do good, not just be powerful. I'm starting to understand. Good. Then you understand why I'm willing to take this chance. She extended a hand. 3 days. Don't disappoint me. Izuku shook it. I won't. Walking back to the hotel, Angel Dust was unusually quiet. You okay? Izuku asked. That was a lot. Angel ran a hand through his fur. V doesn't trust easily. The fact that she gave you anything at all. That means something. She's taking a risk. If this fails, it could blow back on her. Yeah, but she's been stuck for years. Wanting to move against Val but never having the right opportunity. Angel glanced at him. You might be the opportunity. Pressure. Comes with the territory, hero boy. They walked in silence for a while. The streets of Pentagram City were busy with demons going about their business, shopping, arguing, occasionally fighting. It looked almost normal if you ignored the horns and tails and constant background violence. Can I ask you something? Angel said finally. Sure. Why do you care? About hell, about demons, about any of this? You're stuck here, sure, but most people would be trying to survive, not reform the system. Izuku considered the question. It was a fair one. Back home, I was born without any powers. In a world where almost everyone had some kind of ability, I was the exception. Everyone told me I couldn't be a hero, couldn't help people, couldn't make a difference. I believed them for a long time. What changed? Someone gave me a chance. Saw potential in me that I couldn't see in myself. And I decided that I would spend my life proving that anyone could be a hero if they tried hard enough. That's a nice story. Doesn't answer my question though. Izuku stopped walking, turning to face Angel. You're stuck in a contract with someone who hurts you. Charlie's trying to prove that demons can be redeemed. This whole city is full of people suffering under systems designed to keep them suffering. He gestured broadly. That's exactly the kind of situation heroes are supposed to change. Just because I'm in hell doesn't mean I stop being a hero. Angel stared at him for a long moment. You're fucking crazy, you know that? Frequently told that, yes. Good crazy though. Maybe. Angel started walking again. Alright, hero boy. Let's go plan your first heist. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. Izuku pulled together everything he needed, maps of the factory district, timing schedules based on V's intelligence, contingency plans for multiple scenarios. Charlie helped where she could, her knowledge of Hell's geography proving surprisingly detailed. Vaggie was grudgingly useful with tactical advice, though she still clearly thought this was insane. Angel Dust served as liaison with V, passing messages back and forth. Husk provided alcohol and cynical commentary, which was honestly kind of helpful for maintaining perspective. And throughout it all, Izuku trained. His body was already in hero-grade shape, but Hell's environment was different. The air was thicker, gravity felt slightly off, and his reflexes needed recalibration. He ran through combat forms in the hotel's back lot, pushing himself until his muscles screamed. OFA continued to be unreliable, but he was starting to recognize patterns. Intense emotional states seemed to trigger it more reliably. Fear, determination, anger, anything that pushed him past normal mental thresholds. He couldn't count on it for sustained combat, but one or two powerful bursts might be achievable if the situation was desperate enough. The night before the operation, Charlie found him on the roof again. Can't sleep. Nervous energy. Izuku kept his eyes on the city. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. You don't have to do this, you know. We could find another way. Another way that doesn't involve confronting Valentino directly. Maybe. But this is the fastest path to establishing myself as someone who can't be pushed around. He turned to face her. And it's the right thing to do. Those demons being transported, they're being sold into slavery. That's not something I can walk away from. Charlie moved to stand beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I believe in what you're doing. I just worry. About me? About all of this. The hotel, the redemption project, you. Everything feels like it's accelerating, and I don't know if we're ready. We're not ready. Izuku smiled slightly. Nobody's ever really ready for the big moments. You just do your best and adapt when things go wrong. That's surprisingly comforting. My mentor used to say something similar. A hero is someone who acts even when they're scared. The fear doesn't disqualify you, it's what you do despite the fear that matters. Charlie was quiet for a moment. Then she turned to face him fully, expression serious. Izuku. Whatever happens tomorrow. I'm glad you're here. Not just because you're helping with the hotel, but because. She stumbled over the words. Because having someone who believes in what I'm doing, who believes in me, means more than I can say. I believe in you, Charlie. Your dream isn't crazy, it's necessary. And I'm going to do everything I can to help you make it real. Their eyes met. Something shifted in the air between them, an acknowledgement of connection that hadn't been there before. Charlie leaned forward and kissed him. It was brief, soft and nervous and uncertain, but it happened. She pulled back immediately, eyes wide, already starting to stammer an apology. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, Charlie. Izuku caught her hands, steadying her. It's okay. Is it? Because I just kissed a guy I've known for 3 days who's about to do something incredibly dangerous and I don't even know if I liked it. That stopped her rambling. You did? I did. He squeezed her hands gently. But we should probably talk about this after. I'm not about to raid a convoy. Charlie's laugh was slightly hysterical. Right. Yes. Good point. Priority management. Priority management. She squeezed his hands back, then let go. Get some sleep, Izuku. You're going to need it. I will. She headed for the roof access door, then paused. And Izuku? When you get back. We'll talk. It's a date. Her smile was brighter than hell's red sky as she disappeared inside. Izuku turned back to the city, heart beating faster than it had any tactical reason to. Tomorrow, he was going to take his first real step against an overlord. Tonight, He'd been kissed by the Princess of Hell. His life had gotten very weird very fast. The factory district was exactly as grim as V's intel suggested. Abandoned buildings, broken streets, the kind of area that respectable demons avoided. Perfect for illegal shipments. Izuku watched from a rooftop as the convoy approached. 3 vehicles, a supply truck in front, a prisoner transport in the middle, and a security car bringing up the rear. 6 guards visible, probably more inside the vehicles. V had provided him with equipment, a mask to hide his identity, weapons that wouldn't be traced back to her, and a communication device for emergencies. He'd studied the route until he could trace it in his sleep, identified 3 ambush points, and planned for 7 different outcomes. Now it was time to execute. The convoy reached the first choke point, a narrow stretch of road between 2 collapsed buildings. Izuku dropped. He landed on the supply truck's roof, the impact barely registering through his reinforced boots. Before the driver could react, he punched through the windshield, no OFA, just raw strength and perfect technique, and grabbed the demon by the collar. "Stop the truck or I throw you out of it." The demon stopped the truck. Behind him, Izuku heard screeching brakes and shouting. The element of surprise wouldn't last long. He needed to move fast. He left the supply driver unconscious in his seat and dropped to the street. 3 guards were already rushing toward him, weapons drawn. Good, that meant fewer were watching the prisoners. Izuku moved. First guard, ducked under the wild swing, elbow strike to the throat, grabbed the weapon and redirected into the second guard's knee. Second guard went down screaming. Third guard hesitated, fatal mistake, and Izuku closed the distance before the demon could adjust, taking him out with a precise strike to the temple. The prisoner transport was his real target. Heavy locks, reinforced doors, designed to keep cargo secure. He hadn't brought tools for this. What he'd brought was, OFA flickered to life in his right arm. 5%, maybe less, but enough. He punched the lock. Metal crumpled. The door swung open. Inside, 8 demons, chained together, all looking at him with expressions ranging from terror to hope. "I'm here to help. We need to move fast." "Who the fuck are you?" one of them managed. "Someone who thinks you deserve better than being sold." Izuku found the chain mechanism and broke it with another OFA-enhanced strike. "Can you all walk?" They could. They stumbled out of the transport just as the remaining guards finally organized a response. 3 demons, all bigger than the ones Izuku had already handled, emerging from the security car with weapons that looked significantly more dangerous. "Get down," someone behind him yelled. Izuku threw himself to the side as gunfire erupted. Hell apparently had guns. Of course Hell had guns. He rolled behind the supply truck, assessing. 3 shooters, positioned to cover each other. The freed prisoners were scattering, good, they'd be harder to recapture. But he was pinned down. OFA crackled along his spine. He felt it building, straining against whatever dimensional interference was suppressing it. Not enough for a full attack, but maybe enough for, he kicked the supply truck. OFA released in a burst. The truck slid across the street like it weighed nothing, slamming into 2 of the shooters. The third barely dodged, staring at the impossible feat with wide eyes. Izuku was already closing the distance. The final guard tried to bring his weapon around. Izuku caught the barrel, redirected it skyward, and put the demon on the ground with a sweep and an elbow strike. Done. The entire convoy taken down in under 2 minutes. Izuku looked at the freed prisoners, who were staring at him with undisguised shock. "There's a safe house 3 blocks east," he told them. "Someone there will help you get started. Tell them Green Emperor sent you." "Green Emperor," one repeated. "It'll make sense eventually. Go. Now." They went. Izuku surveyed the scene. Unconscious guards, damaged vehicles, a clear message delivered to anyone who was watching. Someone was definitely watching. That was impressive, a voice said from the shadows. Izuku spun, fists raised. She stepped into the light, tall, elegant, silver hair styled perfectly despite the grime of the factory district. Her eyes were cold and evaluating, and she moved with the kind of grace that only came from centuries of refinement. Carmilla Carmine, Weapons Overlord. I've been hearing interesting things about the living human, she continued, approaching with no apparent concern that Izuku might attack. But hearing and seeing are different things. If you're here to stop me, if I wanted to stop you, you'd already be stopped. She circled the wreckage, examining it with professional interest. No, I came to observe. My curiosity got the better of me. Izuku didn't lower his guard. And what did you observe? Speed. Precision. Strategic thinking beyond your apparent power level. And something else. She met his eyes. Conviction. You actually believe in what you're doing. Is that unusual? In hell. Almost unheard of. She stopped circling, facing him directly. I'm going to make you an offer, Izuku Midoriya. You're going to accept it because you're smart enough to recognize opportunity, and because you need allies more powerful than an ex-wife with a grudge. What kind of offer? I want to know what makes you tick. In exchange, I'll provide resources, protection, and access to Hell's weapons market. She smiled, and there was nothing warm in it. Consider it an investment in a potentially profitable partnership. Izuku's mind raced. Carmilla was powerful, one of the most powerful overlords by most accounts. Her support would significantly change his position in Hell's power structure. But there was always a catch. What do you want in return? For now. Analysis. My competitors have been making moves I don't fully understand. You have a mind for patterns, use it. She pulled a card from somewhere and held it out. Come to my estate tomorrow. We'll discuss specifics. He took the card. Elegant script, an address, nothing else. And if I say no? Then I walk away and you continue struggling alone. But you won't say no. Her smile sharpened. Because you're already calculating the advantages. I can see it. She could. He was. Tomorrow, then. Tomorrow. Carmilla turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. That little display of power, the truck, that wasn't your full capability. Whatever you're hiding, it's more than you're showing. Maybe. I'll want to know more about that, too. She disappeared into the shadows without another word. Izuku stood alone in the wreckage of Valentino's convoy, holding an overlord's calling card. 3 days in hell, and he'd freed prisoners, caught the attention of 2 overlords, survived the radio demon's curiosity, and kissed the princess. This was either going very well or catastrophically poorly. Time would tell. He returned to the hotel as dawn started to color Hell's sky in different shades of red. The mission was complete, the prisoners were safe, and he'd made contact with Carmilla Carmine. Charlie met him at the door. You're okay. She threw her arms around him before he could respond, squeezing with surprising strength. I was so worried, Angel said there might have been complications. I'm fine. He returned the hug, letting himself relax for just a moment. Mission successful. We can talk details later. Details can wait. She pulled back, examining his face. You look exhausted. I am exhausted. Then sleep. Everything else can happen after you've rested. She took his hand, casual, natural, and led him inside. The hotel was quiet in the early morning. Angel Dust was passed out on a couch, Husk was cleaning glasses behind the bar, and Vaggie was nowhere to be seen. Izuku let Charlie guide him to his room, let her fuss over making sure he had water and comfortable pillows. Charlie. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. Her smile softened. Thank you for being here. For being you. She kissed his cheek, lighter than last night's kiss but somehow more meaningful, and slipped out of the room. Izuku lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He had no idea how to get home. Ofa was still unreliable. An overlord wanted to own him, another wanted to use him, and the radio demon found him entertaining. Heaven apparently sent kill squads every year. And he'd somehow become emotionally entangled with Hell's princess. But he'd also freed 8 demons from slavery tonight. Made alliances that could grow into something powerful. Taken the first real step toward changing things. Back on Earth, he'd wanted to be a hero. Someone who saved people and made the world better. Hell wasn't Earth. But there were still people here who needed saving. Still systems that needed to be changed. Still good that could be done by someone willing to do it. Maybe this was where he was supposed to be. Izuku closed his eyes and let exhaustion pull him under. Tomorrow, he'd start building an empire. Tonight, he'd rest. Chapter 2, Blood and Bargains. Izuku woke to the sound of screaming. He was on his feet before his brain fully caught up, combat instincts shoving aside the fog of sleep. The screaming came from downstairs, multiple voices, crashing furniture, something that sounded like energy discharge. He hit the hallway at a dead sprint. The hotel lobby was chaos. 3 demons he didn't recognize were tearing through furniture, throwing fire and claws at anything that moved. Vaggie was fighting 2 of them at once, her spear a blur of silver. Husk had overturned the bar and was using bottles as projectiles with surprising accuracy. Angel Dust was bleeding from a gash on his shoulder, backing toward the stairs while firing a gun that had definitely not been visible before. And Charlie was on the ground. One of the attackers, a massive demon with skin like cracked obsidian and flames where his eyes should be, stood over her, foot raised to stomp down. Izuku didn't think. He moved. Ofa surged through his legs, unreliable as always but present when he needed it most. He crossed the lobby in a single bound, shoulder-checking the obsidian demon with enough force to send it crashing through the front window. The power cut out immediately, leaving his legs aching, but Charlie was safe. That was what mattered. Izuku. She scrambled to her feet, eyes wide. They just attacked, no warning, stay behind me. The obsidian demon was already climbing back through the shattered window, rage twisting its features. Its 2 companions broke off from Vaggie and Angel, all 3 focusing on Izuku now. The human, Obsidian growled. Valentino sends his regards. Tell him I don't accept deliveries. Izuku settled into a fighting stance, calculating. 3 opponents, all larger than him, at least one with fire abilities. His quirk was tapped out for now. This was going to hurt. The first one charged, the smaller of the 3, built for speed rather than power. Izuku sidestepped, caught its arm, and used its momentum to redirect it face first into the bar. Husk helpfully smashed a bottle over its head. That's the good stuff, asshole. The second demon circled while Obsidian hung back, clearly the leader. This one had too many limbs, 6 arms, each ending in serrated claws. It attacked in a flurry of slashes that Izuku could barely track, let alone dodge completely. One claw caught his ribs. Another grazed his cheek. He felt blood, his blood, and pushed through the pain. Find the pattern. Every fighter had one. 6 arms, but the demon favored the upper right. It led with that limb, used the others for follow-up strikes. If Izuku could get inside its guard, neutralize that primary arm, he ducked a slash, ate a hit to his shoulder that he'd have to worry about later, and drove his fist into the demon's elbow joint. Anatomy was anatomy, even in hell. The arm bent wrong, and the demon howled. Izuku followed with a knee to its midsection, then an elbow to its temple. It dropped. 2 down. 1 to go. Obsidian hadn't moved. It just stood there, flames dancing in its eye sockets, watching. You're better than the report said. Its voice was like grinding stone. Valentino underestimated you. Most people do. I won't. Obsidian's hands ignited, fire spreading up its arms. Let's see how you handle this. It threw fire. Actual fire, streaming toward Izuku in a torrent that he couldn't dodge, couldn't block, green lightning crackled across his body. OFA activated without his conscious decision, flooding his system with power. He raised his arms and the fire split around him, his aura providing just enough resistance to redirect the flames. 5%. Maybe 8. More than he'd managed before, and more sustained. Obsidian's flaming eyes widened. What are you? Izuku charged. The demon tried to bring up its fire defense, but Izuku was faster. He ducked under the flames, came up inside Obsidian's guard, and drove his fist into its chest with everything OFA could give him. The demon flew backward, through the already shattered window, across the street, and into the building opposite. The wall cracked around it. OFA cut out. Izuku dropped to one knee, legs trembling, arms screaming from the backlash. But the fight was over. Holy shit. Angel Dust lowered his gun, staring at the destruction. You just punched that guy into next week. Is everyone okay? Izuku's voice came out hoarse. The adrenaline was fading, and every injury was making itself known. Charlie's fine, I'm fine, Vaggy's pissed as usual. Angel limped over, offering a hand. You look like death warmed over though. Izuku accepted the help standing. His ribs definitely weren't just bruised anymore, at least one was cracked. The claw wounds were bleeding freely. And his arms felt like they'd been through a meat grinder. Izuku. Charlie rushed to his side, face pale with worry. You're hurt, we need to, I'll be fine. We need to move before reinforcements arrive. He's right. Vaggy joined them, spear still in hand. This was a test. Valentino wanted to see what you could do. Now he knows. And he's either going to back off or come at you harder. My money's on harder. Izuku had expected that. Valentino wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully, everything he'd learned about the Overlord suggested ego and possessiveness drove most of his decisions. Then we need to accelerate our timeline. He straightened, ignoring the pain. I'm meeting with Carmilla Carmine today. That alliance could give us the leverage we need. You're meeting with Carmine? Vaggy's expression shifted from annoyed to something approaching respect. How did you manage that? She saw the convoy raid. Decided I was worth investing in. Carmilla doesn't invest in people. She acquires them. Then I'll have to make sure she sees me as a partner, not a possession. Charlie's hand found his, squeezing gently. Are you sure you're okay to meet with her? You're injured, I don't have the luxury of waiting to heal. Valentino just escalated. If I don't respond with strength, I look weak. And looking weak in hell gets you killed. He squeezed back. I'll be careful. At least let me bandage those wounds first. He couldn't argue with that. Charlie's hands were gentle as she wrapped his ribs, her brow furrowed in concentration. They were in his room, door closed, the sounds of cleanup drifting up from below. You could have died. Her voice was quiet, controlled, but he could hear the fear beneath it. But I didn't. That's not, she stopped, taking a breath. I know you're capable. I saw what you did. But watching you fight, watching you get hurt protecting me, it was terrifying, Izuku. I'm sorry I scared you. Don't apologize for saving my life. She tied off the bandage with more force than necessary. Just, promise me you'll be careful. I know you have to be strong, have to prove yourself, have to do all these dangerous things. But she stopped again, frustration creasing her features. Izuku caught her hands before she could pull away. Charlie. Look at me. She did. Her red eyes were bright with unshed tears. I'm going to be careful. Not because I don't think the risks are worth taking, but because I have something worth coming back to now. He held her gaze. You gave me a place in hell when I had nothing. You believed in me when you had no reason to. That means something. You mean something. We've known each other less than a week. I know. But I've spent years learning to trust my instincts about people. And every instinct I have says you're worth fighting for. He released her hands, suddenly self-conscious. Sorry, that was probably too much. Charlie kissed him. Not the nervous, uncertain kiss from the rooftop. This one was deliberate, intense, communicating things words couldn't capture. Her hands fisted in his shirt, careful of his injuries but insistent. He responded in kind, one hand cupping the back of her head, the other steadying himself on the bed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Charlie's cheeks were flushed. That wasn't too much, she said. That was exactly right. Izuku's brain was doing approximately 7 things at once, most of them incomprehensible. He settled for, good. That's, good. Charlie laughed, and the sound was like sunlight in hell's eternal red. You face down demons without flinching, but a kiss makes you lose your words. Different skill sets. Clearly. She stood, composing herself. You need to get ready for your meeting. Carmilla Carmine doesn't appreciate lateness. How do you know that? Because she's one of the few overlords who's always treated me with respect. Cold respect, but respect. She values professionalism. Charlie smoothed down her own clothes. Wear something that says, I'm serious about business, but I could also kill everyone in this room if necessary. That's very specific advice. I grew up in hell. I know the dress codes. The Carmine estate was exactly what Izuku expected from a weapons overlord, elegant, fortified, and absolutely lethal. The mansion sat on a hill overlooking one of Pentagram City's more affluent districts, surrounded by walls that hummed with defensive magic. Guards patrolled openly, armed with weapons that looked expensive and devastating. The message was clear: Carmilla Carmine could afford the best, and the best protected her. Izuku approached the gate wearing borrowed clothes from the hotel's surprisingly well-stocked wardrobe. Black pants, dark green shirt, a jacket that hid the bandages around his ribs. He'd considered wearing his hero costume but decided against it. This was a business meeting, not a battle. Hopefully. Izuku Midoriya. The guard at the gate checked something on a tablet. Hell definitely had tablets, and nodded. Lady Carmine is expecting you. Follow me. The interior of the mansion was all marble and dark wood, weapons displayed on walls like art pieces. Swords, guns, things Izuku couldn't identify but recognized as dangerous. A museum and an armory in one. The guard led him to a study on the second floor, knocked once, and opened the door. Carmilla sat behind a massive desk, paperwork spread before her, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up as Izuku entered, removing the glasses with deliberate care. You're punctual. Good. I was told you value professionalism. I value many things. Please, sit. She gestured to a chair across from her desk. I trust your injuries from this morning aren't too severe. Izuku sat, keeping his expression neutral. You heard about that already? I hear about everything that matters in this city. 3 of Valentino's enforcers attacked the Hazbin hotel. You defeated all 3, destroying one so thoroughly he'll be regenerating for days. Her lips curved slightly. Impressive response time on the intelligence network. Impressive response time on your part. I have people everywhere. It's how I stay alive. She steepled her fingers. Now, let's discuss why you're here. I offered you a partnership last night. You accepted. But we never discussed terms. What terms did you have in mind? I want your analytical abilities. You see patterns, identify weaknesses, develop strategies. These are valuable skills in Hell's competitive landscape. In exchange, I'll provide you with resources, weapons, and my protection. Your protection. My name carries weight. Being associated with Carmine Industries makes you a more expensive target. Right now, Valentino sees you as a minor annoyance. If he knew you had my backing, he'd have to think carefully before acting again. It was a good offer. Maybe too good. What aren't you telling me? Carmilla's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Approval, perhaps. Smart. I like that. You didn't answer my question. No, I didn't. She rose, walking to the window that overlooked the city. There's something happening in hell, Izuku. Power structures are shifting. Old alliances are crumbling. And there are whispers of things I don't fully understand. What kind of whispers? A prophecy. Ancient, from before Lucifer's fall. Most consider it superstition, but... She turned to face him. The prophecy speaks of a mortal who will reshape hell. A living heart among the damned. When I saw you last night, your power, your conviction, I wondered. Izuku's stomach tightened. You think I'm part of some prophecy? I think you're something unprecedented. A living human in hell, with power that shouldn't exist here, already making waves within days of arrival. Her gaze was piercing. I want to know what you are, Izuku Midoriya. And more importantly, I want to be on the right side of whatever changes are coming. So this isn't just about analytical skills. It's about everything. Your skills, your potential, your trajectory. She returned to her desk, sitting with perfect poise. I've been playing Hell's games for centuries. I know when something significant is emerging. You are significant. Izuku processed this. A prophecy about a mortal reshaping hell. Multiple power players taking interest in him. Valentino's aggression, Alastair's amusement, and now Carmilla's calculated alliance. He was becoming a focal point whether he wanted to be or not. All right, he said finally. I'll work with you. But I have conditions. Name them. First, I'm not your employee. This is a partnership of equals, or as close to equals as we can manage given the power differential. I won't take orders that conflict with my principles. Acceptable. What else? Second, any intelligence I gather, I share with you. But the same goes in reverse. No keeping me in the dark about threats that affect me. Also acceptable. Third, he leaned forward. The Hazbin Hotel and everyone in it are under my protection. Any alliance we have extends to them. Carmilla raised an eyebrow. Charlie Morningstar's redemption project? That's what you're protecting? That's who I'm protecting. Charlie, the staff, the guests. They're mine. Something shifted in Carmilla's expression. Not quite respect, they weren't there yet, but recognition. You claim territory and people openly. That's very hell of you. I'm adapting. Indeed you are. She extended her hand across the desk. We have an agreement, Izuku Midoriya. Let's see what chaos we can create together. He shook her hand. Let's. The first task Carmilla assigned him was simple, analyze her competitors. Hell's weapons trade was dominated by several major players, with Carmilla holding the largest share. But lately, her market position had been eroding. Someone was undercutting her prices, stealing her clients, disrupting her supply chains. I have suspicions, she said, spreading files across a conference table. But no proof. These are the major players who could theoretically mount this kind of campaign. Izuku examined the files. 4 overlords, each with resources and motivation to target Carmine Industries. He spent hours reviewing financial records, territory maps, personnel files. By evening, he'd identified the culprit. It's not any of these. He tapped the files. They're all suspects, but the attack pattern doesn't match their operational styles. Carmilla's eyes narrowed. Explain. Look at the timing. The price cut started 3 months ago, but they accelerated 2 weeks before I arrived. The supply chain disruptions follow a specific geographic pattern, they're not random, they're deliberate. And the stolen clients? All of them were approached within a week of expressing dissatisfaction with Carmine Industries. Someone's monitoring my customer relationships. More than that. Someone's inside your organization. These moves require information that only an insider would have. Carmilla's expression went cold. A traitor. Multiple, probably. One person couldn't handle all of this. Izuku pulled out a sheet he'd been working on. Based on the information flow and timing, I've identified 7 employees who had access to the necessary data. 3 of them also had access to your supply chain logistics. One of those 3 has financial connections to, he checked his notes. Someone called Zestial Mord. Zestial. Carmilla's voice was flat. He's one of the oldest overlords. We have a non-aggression pact. Which he might be violating through proxies. Izuku slid the paper across the table. I could be wrong. But the pattern fits. Carmilla studied his analysis for a long moment. Then she laughed, a short, sharp sound. You've been in hell less than a week and you've uncovered a conspiracy that my intelligence network missed for months. She looked at him with something that might have been genuine warmth. I underestimated you, Izuku Midoriya. Most people do. I won't make that mistake again. She stood. I'll have my people investigate your suspects. If you're right, you'll have earned more than my protection, you'll have earned my respect. And if I'm wrong? Then we'll know your analysis has limits. Either way, we learned something valuable. She moved toward the door. You're welcome to use my estate's facilities while you're here. Training rooms, library, anything you need. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're just getting started. Izuku spent the rest of the afternoon in Carmilla's library, researching everything he could find about Hell's power structure. The prophecy she'd mentioned kept nagging at him. If multiple players believed he was part of some ancient prediction, that changed his strategic position significantly. He found references in several texts, fragments, interpretations, arguments about authenticity. The core content was consistent: when mortal heart beats midst the damned, when kindness blooms in burning sand, the throne of ash shall birth anew, and hell shall crown what heaven threw. The throne of ash. Hell's throne had been nominally occupied by Lucifer since his fall, but according to everything Izuku had read, the king of hell had largely withdrawn from active governance. The 7 rings ran themselves, overlords carved out territory, and Lucifer, brooded, apparently. If this prophecy suggested someone new would take the throne, that had massive implications. For Hell's power structure, for Izuku's safety, for everything. He needed more information. He needed to understand who else knew about this prophecy and what they planned to do about it. He needed to talk to someone who'd been in Hell long enough to know its history. Returning to the hotel, Izuku found Charlie in her office, surrounded by paperwork. How did the meeting go? She looked up, worry evident. Did Carmilla? It went well. We have an alliance. He sat across from her. But I need to ask you about something. A prophecy. Something about a mortal reshaping hell. Charlie's expression flickered. Where did you hear about that? Carmilla mentioned it. Said some people think I might be connected to it. The throne prophecy. Charlie set down her pen. It's ancient, supposedly from before Dad fell. Most demons think it's just a legend, something sinners made up to give themselves hope. But not everyone thinks that. No. Some people take it very seriously. She hesitated. Mom used to talk about it. Before she left. She said the prophecy was real, that someday a mortal would come to hell and change everything. What do you think? Charlie was quiet for a moment. I think that if you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said it was just a story. But then you showed up, a living human, with power that shouldn't work here, already challenging overlords and talking about changing things. She met his eyes. I don't know if you're the person from the prophecy. But I know you're special, Izuku. I knew that from the moment I saw you fighting in that alley. Special enough to reshape hell. Maybe. Or maybe the prophecy is just a metaphor, and you're the kind of person who makes change happen regardless of ancient predictions. She smiled slightly. Does it matter? Whether it's fate or choice, you're already making waves. She had a point. Prophecy or not, he was committed to this path now. Survival demanded he accumulate power. His principles demanded he use that power to help people. The two goals aligned well enough. Charlie, I need to meet your mother. Her smile faded. Mom's complicated. She left years ago, I don't even know where she is most of the time. But you can contact her. Maybe. There are ways, but... Charlie's discomfort was obvious. Why do you need to see her? Because she knows more about this prophecy than almost anyone. Because she's a power player who's been absent from Hell's politics but probably still has influence. And because, he considered how to phrase this. Because everyone keeps talking about your family like you're the most important people in Hell, but I've only met you. I need to understand the full picture. Charlie was quiet for a long moment. If I reach out to Mom, it might attract attention. Dad's attention. Lucifer. He and Mom aren't together anymore. Their relationship is complicated. If she comes back, even briefly, it'll cause ripples. Ripples we can use or ripples that will cause problems. Both, probably. Charlie sighed. Let me think about it. In the meantime, there's someone else who might be able to help you understand Hell's history better. Who? Rosie. The cannibal overlord. She's ancient, knows everything about everyone, and, for some reason, likes me. Charlie managed a small smile. She also has a reputation for respecting interesting people. You definitely qualify. Cannibal Town was exactly as disturbing as the name implied. The district occupied a corner of Pentagram City that other demons avoided, not out of fear but out of discomfort. The residents didn't just eat other demons, they made it a lifestyle. A culture. A source of pride. Izuku walked through streets where butcher shops displayed cuts of meat that were definitely not animal. Where restaurants advertised fresh catches with illustrations that left nothing to imagination. Where everyone looked at him with a particular kind of interest that made his skin crawl. Charlie had provided directions to Rosie's establishment, a tea shop, because apparently even cannibals appreciated a good brew. He found it at the end of a winding lane, marked by a cheerful sign and window displays of delicate pastries. He didn't want to know what was in the pastries. The interior was surprisingly pleasant. Doilies on tables, vintage wallpaper, the smell of something floral mixing with something he tried not to identify. A handful of demons sat at various tables, sipping from porcelain cups, chatting quietly. Behind the counter stood a woman who could only be Rosie. Tall, elegant, with skin like porcelain and eyes that held centuries of knowledge. She wore a vintage dress that would have been fashionable on Earth perhaps a century ago, and her smile showed just a few too many teeth. Well, well, well. Her voice was sweet as honey, with a southern drawl that somehow made everything more unsettling. If it isn't the famous Green Emperor himself, walking right into my little shop. You know who I am. Sugar, everyone knows who you are. Living human, fighting Valentino's boys, making deals with Carmilla Carmine. She swept around the counter, taking his arm like they were old friends. Come, come, sit down. We have so much to discuss. She guided him to a private table in the back, away from other customers. A server appeared instantly with tea and those suspicious pastries. Rosie poured for both of them, movements precise and practiced. Try the macarons. They're simply divine. What's in them? Rosie laughed. Oh honey, you're adorable. Nothing you need to worry about, I promise. I don't serve guests ingredients they'd find objectionable. Izuku took a chance and bit into a macaron. It was, actually delicious. Light, flavorful, with a raspberry filling that tasted completely normal. See? Perfectly civilized. Rosie sipped her tea. Now then. Charlie sent you to me for a reason. Let's hear it. I need to understand Hell's history. The power structures, the ancient prophecies, the things that most demons either don't know or won't talk about. My, you don't ask for much, do you? But her smile widened. I like ambition. It's so rare to find someone who actually wants to know things instead of just grabbing for power blindly. Will you help me? That depends. She set down her cup, expression shifting to something more serious. Why should I, exactly? You're interesting, certainly. But interesting doesn't pay the bills, as they say. Because Charlie trusts you. Because you've apparently treated her with respect when others haven't. And because, Izuku considered his words carefully. Because I think you're bored. Rosie's eyebrows rose. Bored? You've been in hell for centuries. You've built your territory, established your power, eaten your way to overlord status. But when was the last time something actually surprised you? When was the last time you met someone who made you think this is different? You're presuming quite a lot about my inner life, sugar. Am I wrong? Rosie was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed, bright and genuine, the sound echoing through the shop. Oh, I do like you. You've got spine, and brains, and just enough recklessness to keep things interesting. She leaned back, studying him. All right, Izuku Midoriya. I'll help you. But there's a price. Name it. When you make your move, and you will make a move, I can see it in your eyes, I want to be there. I want a seat at whatever table you're building. Not as a subordinate, mind you. As an ally. A partner. Someone who gets to watch this beautiful chaos unfold from the front row. It was essentially the same deal he'd made with Carmilla, just framed differently. Powerful entities recognizing his potential and wanting to be positioned advantageously when things changed. Done. Wonderful. Rosie clapped her hands together. Now, where shall we begin? The throne prophecy. The fall of Lucifer. The 7 deadly princes and their endless squabbling. Start with Lilith. Rosie's smile turned knowing. Ah, the queen herself. Yes, I thought you might be curious about her. Everyone is, these days. She's been absent for so long, some demons have started to forget she exists. Where is she? That's the question, isn't it? She left hell about 7 years ago, took herself out of the game entirely. No one knows why, though theories abound. Marital troubles with Lucifer, obviously. Power plays that went wrong. Some say she's in hiding, others say she's gathering strength for a return. Which do you believe? I believe, Rosie leaned forward conspiratorially. That Lilith never does anything without purpose. If she left, it was for a reason. And if she's staying away, that's also for a reason. The woman has been playing these games since before most of Hell's current residents were even born. Charlie said she talked about the prophecy. Believed it was real. Lilith believes many things. She was the first woman, you know. Created before Eve, rejected Adam, chose demons over obedience. Rosie's voice carried a note of respect. She's seen civilizations rise and fall. She's watched heaven's politics and hell's chaos for millennia. If she believed in a prophecy, it wasn't idle superstition. How do I contact her? Rosie's expression shifted to something almost sympathetic. Oh honey. You don't contact Lilith. If she wants to find you, she finds you. And given your current trajectory? She smiled. I'd say she'll be paying attention soon enough. The walk back to the hotel gave Izuku time to process everything he'd learned. Lilith was a major unknown, powerful, absent, potentially interested in him because of the prophecy. Lucifer was another unknown, though his relationship with Charlie provided some leverage. The prophecy itself was taken seriously by enough people to matter, which meant Izuku needed to decide how to handle that perception. He could deny it, claim he was just a normal human caught in bad circumstances. But that would ring false given what he'd already demonstrated. He could embrace it, lean into the prophetic imagery and use it to accumulate followers. But that felt manipulative in a way that made him uncomfortable. Or he could simply be himself, do what he thought was right, and let others draw their own conclusions. That aligned best with his principles, even if it was strategically less optimal. Lost in thought, he almost didn't notice the figure waiting outside the hotel. She was beautiful in a way that transcended normal aesthetic categories. Tall, regal, with white hair that flowed like water and eyes that held depths of experience he couldn't fathom. She wore a gown that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously, and her presence made the air feel heavier. Izuku Midoriya. Her voice was music and thunder combined. We need to talk. Every instinct Izuku had screamed that this woman was dangerous. More dangerous than anyone he'd met in hell so far, possibly including Alastair. He kept his expression neutral. I don't believe we've met. No. But I've been watching you since you arrived. She smiled, and it was like watching a blade unsheath. My name is Lilith. And you, young hero, have made yourself very interesting. They walked. Lilith had suggested the hotel was too obvious for their conversation, and Izuku hadn't argued. Something told him that arguing with Lilith wouldn't go well. She led him to a park, one of hell's strange oases, where twisted trees grew and demons occasionally picnicked. At this hour, it was empty except for them. You've been busy, Lilith observed. Raiding Valentino's convoys. Allying with Carmilla Carmine. Visiting Rosie in Cannibal Town. All while protecting my daughter's absurd little hotel. Charlie's project isn't absurd. No, it isn't. Lilith stopped walking, turning to face him. That's what makes it dangerous. A genuine attempt at redemption in hell, it threatens everyone who benefits from the status quo. And now you've attached yourself to it, which makes you threatening. Is that why you're here? To warn me. I'm here because you're interesting. And because, she paused, something complicated crossing her features. Because I want to understand what you are. I'm a hero. Or I was, back home. You're more than that. I can feel it. She stepped closer, studying his face with unsettling intensity. Your power, it's not native to this dimension. It doesn't follow hell's rules. And yet it works here, partially. That shouldn't be possible. My quirk has been unstable since I arrived. Quirk. Such a mundane word for something so remarkable. Lilith circled him slowly. You carry power that was passed down through generations. Power that accumulated strength and purpose with each holder. I can feel echoes of all of them inside you. Izuku's blood went cold. How do you know about that? I'm older than most concepts of age, young hero. I've seen power transfer through countless methods, bloodlines, rituals, divine mandate, and yes, something like your quirk. She stopped circling, facing him directly. You were chosen. Given something precious by someone who believed in you. And now you're carrying that legacy into a realm where nothing is supposed to survive. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what you're dealing with. Lilith's expression was unreadable. The prophecy is real. The throne of ash will accept a new ruler when the right conditions are met. And everything about you, your arrival, your power, your actions, fits the pattern. I'm not interested in ruling hell. What you're interested in is irrelevant. What will happen is what matters. She reached out, touching his cheek with fingers that felt like ice and fire. You're going to change everything, Izuku Midoriya. The only question is whether you'll do it on purpose or be carried along by fate. Izuku didn't flinch from her touch. And what do you want out of this? What's your angle? Lilith laughed, low and genuine. Direct. I appreciate that. She withdrew her hand. I want what I've always wanted, power, freedom, and the satisfaction of seeing deserving people suffer. Lucifer failed me. Adam failed me. Hell itself has failed me. Perhaps, her eyes met his. Perhaps you won't. That's not really an answer. It's all the answer you're getting tonight. She began walking again, and Izuku followed. I'll be watching you, hero. Observing. Testing, occasionally. If you prove worthy of the throne, I'll support your claim. If you don't, she shrugged elegantly. Then you'll join the long list of interesting failures. And if I don't want the throne? Lilith stopped, looking at him with something that might have been pity. Then hell will tear you apart. The prophecy has been set in motion. There's no stepping off the path now. You either rise or you fall. She smiled. I suggest rising. She vanished. No dramatic exit, no visual effect, just there one moment and gone the next. Izuku stood alone in Hell's twisted park, processing. Lilith had confirmed the prophecy. Had confirmed that he was somehow part of it. Had offered support while also making clear she'd abandon him the moment he showed weakness. Another player in a game he hadn't chosen to play. He thought about Charlie, about her simple goal of proving demons could be redeemed. He thought about his own goal of being a hero. Somewhere along the way, those goals had gotten tangled up with ancient prophecies and power plays. Maybe that was okay. Maybe heroes operated best when they didn't fully understand the scope of their mission. They just did the right thing and trusted that would lead somewhere good. Izuku headed back to the hotel. Charlie was waiting for him, anxiety evident in every line of her body. You were gone for hours. After what happened this morning, I was worried. I'm fine. He closed the distance between them, pulling her into a hug. I'm sorry I worried you. She melted into the embrace, tension slowly leaving her shoulders. Where were you? Cannibal Town. Then I had an unexpected meeting. He pulled back slightly. Your mother found me. Charlie's eyes went wide. MOM. She's here. Where? She left. But we talked. He guided Charlie to a seat, sitting across from her. She confirmed the prophecy is real. She thinks I'm connected to it. What was she like? The vulnerability in Charlie's voice hurt to hear. This was her mother, someone who'd been absent for years, and Charlie's first real information about her came from a stranger. She's powerful. Guarded. Calculating. Izuku considered what else to share. But when she talked about you, when she called the hotel, my daughter's project, there was something there. Not warmth exactly, but awareness. She knows what you're doing. I think she respects it, in her way. Mom respects things she can use. Charlie's voice was bitter. She and Dad are the same that way. Everyone's a piece on a board to them. Maybe. But she also said the project was dangerous because it was real. Because it threatened the status quo. Izuku leaned forward. She took it seriously, Charlie. She didn't dismiss it like a joke. Charlie was quiet for a moment. Did she say anything about coming back? About seeing me? No. I'm sorry. It's fine. I didn't really expect. She stopped, wiping at her eyes. I'm glad you met her. I'm glad she's paying attention, even from a distance. Izuku moved to sit beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. We're building something real here. Your project, my alliances, the people rallying around us. Whatever your mother's reasons for watching, she's going to see that we're worth betting on. Is that the goal? Getting powerful enough that even my parents take notice? The goal is doing what's right. Everything else is just positioning. Charlie leaned against him, some of the tension easing. I'm glad you're here, Izuku. I know I keep saying that, but it's true every time. I'm glad too. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Now, we should get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be busy. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow, we start planning how to take down Vox. Charlie looked up at him, surprise and something fiercer in her expression. You're really going after the V's? Valentino attacked the hotel. That made it personal. And Carmilla's enemies might be connected to the larger V network. Everything's tangled together. Izuku smiled, and there was steel beneath it. Time to start untangling. Morning brought news. Carmilla's investigation had confirmed Izuku's analysis. There was indeed a traitor in her organization, working with Zestial Mord to undermine Carmine Industries. The traitor was now in custody, and Carmilla was planning her response. More importantly, Izuku had received a message from V. The convoy raid worked better than I expected, her message read. Valentino's scrambling to figure out who's behind it. His operation's vulnerable right now. If you want to move against him, this is the time. But Vox is already working to stabilize things. You'll need to handle both simultaneously if you want any chance of permanent success. Both simultaneously. Valentino and Vox. That was ambitious even by Izuku's standards. But not impossible. Okay, he said, spreading papers across the hotel's main table. Here's what we know. The V's are three entities, Vox, Valentino, and Velvet, operating as a unified front. But they're not actually unified. Valentino and Vox have romantic history that creates tension. Velvet is opportunistic, following whoever's winning. If we can fracture their alliance, then we can pick them off individually, Vaggie finished. She'd joined the planning session, apparently deciding that if she couldn't stop Izuku's crusade, she might as well help. How do you fracture an alliance that's held for decades? We don't. We make it fracture itself. Izuku pointed to a diagram. Vox's priority is control. He wants to manage Hell's information, influence public perception, be the one calling shots. Valentino's priority is possession, he wants to own valuable things and people. Velvet's priority is relevance, she wants to be the trendsetter, the tastemaker. Those goals don't conflict though. They complement each other. They complement each other as long as everyone's winning. But introduce a threat that targets one of them specifically, and watch how fast the others cut their losses. Charlie leaned forward, studying the diagram. You want to threaten one of them in a way that makes the others distance themselves. Exactly. Valentino's already weakened from the convoy raid and the attack on the hotel. If we push harder, expose some of his more horrific practices, maybe destabilize his contract enforcement, Vox might decide Valentino is more trouble than he's worth. Vox loves Valentino though, Angel Dust interjected. He'd joined the meeting too, apparently invested in Valentino's downfall. Or whatever passes for love with that tech freak. He's not gonna cut Val loose easily. Love makes people irrational. What does Vox love more than Valentino? Himself. His empire. Being in control. Then we make Valentino a threat to those things. Izuku turned to a fresh sheet. V has records of Valentino's contracts, including loopholes that could free his workers. What if those records became public? What if demons suddenly started walking out on contracts Valentino thought were airtight? He'd lose his workforce, Vaggie said slowly, catching on. His entire business model depends on those contracts. And if his business fails, Vox has to choose, prop up a failing partner, or cut losses and focus on his own empire. Izuku smiled. People always choose themselves, even people who think they're in love. That's kind of sad, actually, Charlie murmured. It's realistic. And it's how we win. The planning continued for hours. They mapped out a campaign, leaked the contract loopholes through underground channels, coordinate with V to help workers escape, build public pressure against Valentino's practices. Simultaneously, spread information that made Valentino look like a liability, rumors of instability, hints of betrayal, anything that would make Vox nervous. It was manipulation on a grand scale. Izuku wasn't entirely comfortable with it. But he remembered Angel Dust's injuries, Charlie on the ground with a demon's foot raised to crush her, all the workers trapped in Valentino's empire. Sometimes heroes had to play dirty to win. The campaign began that afternoon. These people distributed information about contract loopholes through back channels. Rosie's network spread rumors through Cannibal Town and beyond. Carmilla's influence ensured the stories reached Hell's elite circles. By evening, Valentino's organization was seeing its first cracks. Reports filtered back, 3 demons had successfully voided their contracts using the publicized loopholes. 7 more were preparing legal challenges. Workers who'd been too scared to act were suddenly finding courage. Valentino responded by cracking down harder, which only proved the stories were true. He's panicking, V reported via secure communication. Trying to intimidate everyone back into line. But the cat's out of the bag. People know they have options now. What about Vox? Damage control. He's spinning narratives about outside agitators, foreign interference, that kind of thing. But he's also distancing, subtly. Not defending Valentino directly, just deflecting. Keep the pressure on. And watch for Velvet, she'll make a move soon. He was right. By the next morning, Velvet had released a series of social media posts that, while not directly attacking Valentino, heavily implied she was rethinking her associations and looking to the future. The V's were cracking. Izuku was reviewing reports in his room when the attack came. Not physical this time, something worse. A wave of influence crashed against his mind, trying to push past his defenses and rewrite his thoughts. It felt like drowning in static, like his consciousness was being pulled in directions it shouldn't go. Vox. Using his technology-based abilities to attack remotely. Izuku had prepared for this. Shinsu's training, years of mental discipline, the vestiges of OFA providing unexpected resistance. He pushed back, building walls in his mind, refusing to give ground. The assault intensified. Images flashed, commands to surrender, to go to Vox, to submit. Izuku felt his resolve wavering. Then OFA surged. Not physically this time, but mentally. He felt the previous holders rise up within him, their collective will joining his. They'd never manifested this way before, maybe something about hell, about the different rules, but their strength was unmistakable. Not alone, something whispered. Never alone. Izuku shoved back with everything he had. The assault shattered. In the distance, he could almost feel Vox recoil in shock. Izuku collapsed against his desk, gasping. His nose was bleeding and his head felt like it was splitting open, but he'd won. A message appeared on his phone, Vox's number, somehow acquired. That was impressive. Most minds break under that pressure. You're stronger than I thought. Izuku typed back, come at me properly or stay in your tower. Either way, I'm not stopping. A pause. Then, we should talk. In person. I have a proposition. This could be a trap. Almost certainly was a trap. But it was also an opportunity. Name a place. Velvet Studio. Neutral ground. Tomorrow at noon. I'll be there. You're walking into an obvious trap, Vaggie said flatly. I know. And you're going anyway. I know that too. Izuku finished tying his boots. But this is a chance to see Vox up close. Analyze him directly. And if he's offering to talk instead of attack, it means our campaign is working. Or it means he's planning something worse. Probably. But I'll have backup. He glanced at where Charlie was pretending not to eavesdrop. And I'll have reasons to come back. Charlie's cheeks flushed, but she nodded firmly. I trust you. Just, please be careful. Always. Velvet Studio was a monument to ego. Screens everywhere, displaying content from across Hell's social networks. Demons worked at various stations, editing, posting, monitoring trends. The whole place hummed with digital energy. Velvet herself waited at the entrance, expression calculating. Green Emperor. How flattering that you accepted our invitation. I'm a diplomat now. You're something. That's what we're here to figure out. She led him through the studio to a private room in the back. Vox is waiting. Play nice. The private room was simpler than expected, just a table, chairs, and a single large screen. The screen flickered to life as Izuku entered, displaying Vox's face. He looked like a television given humanoid form, literally. His head was a screen, displaying stylized features. His body was sleek and modern, all clean lines and embedded tech. Izuku Midoriya. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The living human who's been causing me so much trouble. Vox. The technology demon who tried to hack my brain. A test. You passed, for what it's worth. Vox's screen face shifted to something like a smile. I don't often meet people who can resist that kind of direct assault. You're exceptional. Is that why you wanted to meet? To compliment me? I wanted to meet because you're destabilizing my investments. Valentino's operation is bleeding value. Workers are escaping, clients are nervous, the whole structure's wobbling. Vox leaned forward. That's annoying. But it's also opportunity. Opportunity for what? For renegotiation. Vox's expression shifted to something more serious. Valentino's become a liability. His methods attract too much negative attention, and his ego makes him unreliable. I've been considering ways to restructure the partnership. You're offering to sell out your partner. I'm offering to form a new alliance with someone more capable. Vox gestured broadly. You want to change Hell's power structure. I want to control Hell's information. Those goals don't conflict. If anything, they complement each other. Izuku studied the screen, analyzing. Vox was pragmatic, focused on power and control. He'd turn on anyone who threatened his empire, even supposed lovers. That made him predictable in some ways, and dangerous in others. What exactly are you proposing? Stop attacking Valentino. Let me handle him, quietly, on my own terms. In exchange, I'll provide you with information networks, media access, and the legitimacy that comes with V endorsement. And if I refuse? Then we're enemies. I'd prefer not to be, but I'll work with whatever situation develops. It was a tempting offer. Vox's resources were immense. His endorsement would significantly boost Izuku's position. And if he was willing to betray Valentino anyway. But accepting meant becoming entangled with someone who'd already proven he'd betray allies when convenient. It meant compromising on principles for practical gains. It meant becoming something other than a hero. No. Vox's expression froze. No. Valentino hurts people. Enslaves them. Uses them until they're broken and then discards them. Izuku stood. You knew about all of that and you supported him anyway because it was profitable. I'm not going to help you transition smoothly to your next profitable venture. You're turning down significant resources over morality. I'm turning down an alliance with someone I can't trust over basic decency. Izuku headed for the door. Handle Valentino however you want. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. He left. Behind him, he could feel Vox's attention like a weight on his back. He'd turned down a deal and made a powerful enemy. Strategically, it was questionable. But he could still look at himself in the mirror. The next few days were tense. Vox didn't attack directly, but his media networks pivoted to painting Izuku as a dangerous outsider. Public opinion, which had been cautiously curious, started shifting hostile. Demons who'd been friendly became wary. Meanwhile, Valentino was getting desperate. His operation was crumbling faster than expected, too many workers escaping, too many clients backing out. He needed a win. The attack came on day 4. This time, it wasn't enforcers. It was Valentino himself, showing up at the hotel with enough firepower to level a city block. Enough. His voice echoed across the street as Izuku emerged to meet him. I'm done playing games with you, human. You've cost me millions, ruined my reputation, stolen my property. This ends now. Your property were people. They were never yours to begin with. Everything in hell belongs to someone. That's how this works. Valentino's form shifted, becoming larger, more monstrous. His power unfurled, filling the air with oppressive weight. And you're about to belong to me. Izuku felt OFA stir in response to the threat. More responsive now, more willing to work with him. Whatever adaptation Hell's dimension required was finally taking hold. Charlie. Get everyone inside and stay there. Izuku, please. She went. Vaggie stayed for a moment longer, then followed, recognizing that this wasn't her fight. Izuku faced Valentino alone. Last chance, the Overlord growled. Surrender, and I'll make your servitude comfortable. Resist, and I'll break you in ways you can't imagine. I've heard threats from better villains than you. Izuku settled into a combat stance, letting OFA flow through his body. 10%, maybe 15%. More than he'd managed since arriving. Come on then. Show me what an overlord can do. Valentino charged. The fight was brutal. Valentino had centuries of experience and power that dwarfed anything Izuku had faced. Each blow carried weight that shattered stone. Each movement was designed to overwhelm and destroy. But Izuku was faster. Smarter. More adaptable. He ducked under claws that would have bisected him, redirecting the force into Valentino's own momentum. He found gaps in the Overlord's defense, exploiting them with precision strikes enhanced by OFA. He took hits, because Valentino was too fast to dodge entirely, but he kept moving, kept fighting, kept refusing to fall. Why won't you die? Valentino screamed, frustration overwhelming his technique. Because I have something worth living for. Izuku saw his opening and took it. OFA surged to 20%. His fist connected with Valentino's chest, and the Overlord flew backward with enough force to create a crater where he landed. But Valentino got back up. Slower now, visibly damaged, but still standing. You're strong, the Overlord admitted, hatred burning in his eyes. Stronger than any human has any right to be. But you can't keep this up forever. Eventually your power will fail, and when it does, then I'll fight without it. Izuku spat blood. His own power was flickering, the strain taking its toll. That's what being a hero means. You don't stop just because things get hard. You don't give up just because the odds are against you. Heroes. Valentino laughed bitterly. There are no heroes in hell. There are now. They clashed again. Izuku was running on fumes, his body screaming for rest, OFA sputtering. But he kept fighting. Kept hitting. Kept pushing. Finally, Valentino fell and didn't get back up. Izuku stood over the defeated Overlord, breathing hard, every muscle shaking. He could kill Valentino here. End the threat permanently. No one would blame him, it was hell, after all. But that wasn't who he was. Get up. He stepped back. Get up and leave. You're done here. You're sparing me. Valentino's voice was disbelieving. I'm not like you. I don't destroy people just because I can. Izuku's voice was steel. But hear me clearly, if you come after me again, if you threaten my people again, I won't show mercy twice. Now go. Valentino went. Crawling at first, then stumbling, then fleeing into hell's red twilight. Izuku collapsed to his knees, exhaustion finally claiming him. Strong arms caught him before he hit the ground. Charlie, emerging from the hotel despite his instructions. I told you to stay inside. You're an idiot if you thought I would. She was crying, he realized. You could have died. But I didn't. But you could have. She helped him up, bearing his weight. Next time, let me help. Next time. He managed a weak smile. Deal. Word spread fast. The Green Emperor had defeated Valentino in single combat. Had shown mercy when he could have killed. Had proven himself as both powerful and principled. The narrative shifted. Vox's media attacks lost momentum as demons started questioning the agenda behind them. Support for Izuku grew. More overlords reached out, cautiously offering cooperation. And through it all, Izuku recovered with Charlie at his side. You're famous now, she told him as they sat on the hotel roof, watching hell's eternal red sky. Everyone's talking about you. Fame wasn't the goal. No, but it helps. It means something when people see someone stand up for what's right and win. She leaned against his shoulder. You're changing things, Izuku. Actually changing things. We're changing things. I couldn't do any of this without you. Without this hotel and everyone in it. Charlie was quiet for a moment. Then, what happens next? Vox is still out there. The extermination is still coming. And according to multiple sources, I'm somehow connected to an ancient prophecy that might put me on Hell's throne. He sighed. So. Plenty to do. Are you okay with that? The throne thing? I don't know. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to be a hero. He turned to look at her. But if accepting leadership is what it takes to protect people, to make things better, then I'll do it. I'll become whatever I need to become. Even Emperor of Hell. Even that. Charlie reached up to cup his face, eyes searching his. I believe in you. Whatever happens, whatever you become, I believe in you. She kissed him, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. Later that night, as Izuku finally let himself sleep, a familiar presence appeared in his room. Lilith stood by the window, watching him with eyes that held centuries of calculation. You defeated an overlord, she murmured. Showed mercy when you could have killed. Rejected Vox's offer because it compromised your principles. A smile curved her lips. You're exactly what I hoped you'd be. She didn't wake him. Didn't make demands or threats. Just watched, assessing, planning. The throne prophecy is accelerating, she said to no one. Heavens noticed. The other overlords are scrambling. And you, little hero, are at the center of everything. She reached out, almost touching his sleeping face, then withdrew. Rest well, Izuku Midoriya. You're going to need it. She vanished into shadows, leaving only questions behind. Outside, Hell's red sky pulsed with light. Somewhere in the distance, angels were preparing for the coming extermination. Vox was plotting revenge. And ancient powers were stirring, drawn by the prophecies unfolding. The Green Emperor was rising. And nothing would ever be the same. Chapter 3, Crown of Ash 2 months. That's how long Izuku had been in Hell. 2 months of fighting, planning, building. 2 months of alliances forged and enemies made. 2 months of becoming someone he never expected to be. He stood on the balcony of what had become his command center, a building adjacent to the Hazbin hotel that Carmilla had acquired for his use. Below, Pentagram City sprawled in all its chaotic glory. Demons went about their business, some glancing up at the building with expressions ranging from curiosity to fear to hope. The Green Emperor. That's what they called him now. Not mockingly, not anymore. With respect. With expectation. You're brooding again. Charlie appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. She'd changed over the past weeks, still optimistic, still believing in redemption, but with a steel beneath the softness that hadn't been there before. Leading beside him had forged something new in her. Thinking, Izuku corrected. There's a difference. Aha. She leaned against his shoulder. The extermination is in 3 days. Vox is still plotting something. And my father sent another message asking about the human situation. You've got plenty to think about. Did you respond to your father? I told him you were handling things and he could visit whenever he wanted to see for himself. Charlie's voice carried a note of challenge. He hasn't taken me up on it yet. He will. Lucifer doesn't strike me as someone who ignores threats to his territory indefinitely. You're not a threat to his territory. I'm a threat to the status quo. To someone like Lucifer, that might be the same thing. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city pulse with its eternal, corrupted life. So much had changed since Izuku arrived. Valentino's empire had crumbled completely, the former overlord had fled to the outer rings, his power base shattered. Vox had retreated to his tower, still dangerous but isolated. Velvet had publicly distanced herself from both, reinventing herself as an independent influencer. More importantly, the hotel's mission had gained legitimacy. Demons were actually showing up, seeking redemption, working through their sins. It wasn't perfect, nothing in hell was, but it was real. Progress that shouldn't have been possible. Rosie sent word, Charlie said, breaking the silence. She's confirmed what we suspected. Heaven's extermination this year isn't standard. They're bringing more forces than usual. Because of me. Because of everything. You, the Redemption Project, the destabilization of the Overlord hierarchy. Heaven's getting nervous about hell becoming organized. Izuku absorbed this. Heaven sending extra forces meant more danger, but it also meant they were taking him seriously. Taking Charlie's project seriously. Fear was a form of validation. What about the other overlords? Are they ready? Carmilla's weapons are distributed. Rosie's forces are positioned. Zestial's, Charlie hesitated. Zestial's still an unknown. He agreed to the coalition but he's been quiet. He's waiting to see which way the wind blows. He'll commit once the fighting starts and he can assess who's winning. That's cynical. It's accurate. I've studied him, he's survived this long by never overcommitting to losing causes. Izuku turned to face her fully. Which means we need to make sure we're clearly winning from the start. Charlie's expression was complicated. Sometimes I forget you're a strategist first. You seem so genuine most of the time. I am genuine. But I'm also practical. He touched her face gently. Being a hero means doing what's necessary to protect people. Sometimes that means fighting. Sometimes it means planning. Sometimes it means playing politics with ancient demons who'd kill me without blinking. And sometimes it means kissing the princess of hell. That part's just for me. He pulled her closer, and she laughed into the kiss. The War Council convened that afternoon. They gathered in the hotel's main room, which had been converted into a command center. Maps covered every surface, marked with defensive positions and evacuation routes. Communications equipment hummed with updates from across the city. Carmilla Carmine sat at the head of the table, elegant even in crisis. Beside her, Rosie sipped tea from a porcelain cup, looking perfectly relaxed despite the circumstances. Husk manned the communications station, passing along updates with gruff efficiency. Vaggie coordinated defensive assignments, her military background finally finding its proper outlet. Angel Dust hovered near the door, ostensibly on guard duty but really just wanting to be present. He'd changed too, less flippant, more focused. Valentino's fall had freed something in him. And at the center of it all, Izuku. Current intelligence suggests the extermination will begin at midnight, 3 days from now. He indicated positions on the main map. Standard pattern is dispersed assault, angels dropping across the city simultaneously to maximize casualties. But this year, we have reports of a concentrated force gathering here. He tapped a location. The city center. Near the hotel. They're targeting you specifically, Carmilla observed. And Charlie. And the Redemption Project. Everything that threatens their narrative about hell being irredeemable. Izuku looked around the table. Which means we need to defend this position while also protecting the broader population. Divide our forces. Rosie's tone was skeptical. That seems risky, sugar. It is. But abandoning civilians to focus on our own survival isn't an option. Izuku's voice was firm. We protect everyone or we're no better than the people we're fighting against. Silence around the table. Then Carmilla nodded slowly. That's why people follow you, she said. You actually mean it. Of course I mean it. Did you think I was just saying the right things for political gain? Most people in hell do exactly that. Carmilla's smile was thin but genuine. You're not most people. I'm still adjusting. Here's the plan. Izuku pulled out detailed schematics. Carmilla, your weapons go to defensive positions across the city. Prioritize the residential districts, that's where casualties will be highest if we don't intervene. Rosie, your forces serve as rapid response. When angels concentrate on a specific location, you hit their flank. Delicious, Rosie murmured. I do so love flanking. Vaggie, you coordinate the hotel's defense. This building is our command center, if it falls, our communication network falls with it. Hold it at any cost. Understood. Vaggie's expression was stone. She'd been waiting for a real fight since Izuku arrived. What about you? Charlie asked. I'll be mobile. Moving between positions, reinforcing where needed. Izuku met her eyes. And when the Angels' main force arrives, I'll be there to meet them. You can't fight an army alone. I won't be alone. But someone needs to be the visible rallying point. Someone needs to show hell that we're not backing down. He squeezed her hand under the table. That's my job. It's also the job most likely to get you killed. It's the job I'm best suited for. OFA's more stable now, I can maintain higher percentages for longer. And I've been training specifically for this kind of combat. He looked around the table. Any questions? Concerns? Just one. Husk spoke up from the communications station. What happens after? Assuming we survive, assuming we win, what then? Izuku considered the question. It was the one everyone was thinking but no one wanted to ask directly. After depends on a lot of factors. But my goal hasn't changed since I arrived. I want to protect people. I want to help Charlie's project succeed. I want hell to be better than it is. He paused. If that means taking on more responsibility, more leadership, then I'll do it. But I'm not here to conquer. I'm here to serve. That's not how hell works, Carmilla said quietly. Then we change how hell works. Another silence. Then Rosie laughed, bright and delighted. Oh, I do love you, Green Emperor. You're absolutely mad, but in the most wonderful way. Is that a compliment? From me? The highest compliment possible. The next 2 days blurred together. Izuku barely slept, moving constantly between positions, checking defensive preparations, meeting with newly allied overlords who decided the Green Emperor's coalition was their best chance of survival. He trained when he could, pushing OFA to higher and higher levels, testing the limits of what he could sustain. 20% was comfortable now. 30% was manageable for short bursts. 40% hurt, but he could do it if lives were on the line. He'd need everything he had when the angels came. Charlie stayed close, handling the political aspects while Izuku focused on military preparation. She was good at it, better than she gave herself credit for. Her genuine warmth disarmed people's suspicions, and her royal status lent legitimacy to the coalition. They made a good team. On the night before the extermination, Izuku found her in the hotel's chapel, a small room that had been added during renovations, dedicated to the Redemption Project's spiritual aspects. Praying, he asked. Hoping. It's similar but less formal. She didn't turn from the simple altar. I used to pray when I was younger. Ask my dad for help, ask heaven for guidance. They never answered. Maybe they're about to answer. Just not the way you expected. By sending an army to kill us? By giving us a chance to prove them wrong? Izuku moved to stand beside her. Heaven's whole argument is that demons can't be redeemed, that hell is irredeemably evil, that the exterminations are necessary. Tomorrow, we prove that's a lie. We defend people. We fight for something beyond survival. We show that hell can be better. And if we lose? Then we die knowing we tried. He took her hand. But we're not going to lose. I won't let that happen. Charlie turned to face him, eyes searching. You really believe that? I have to. Believing in impossible things is what got me here. What got us here? He cupped her face. You believed in redemption when everyone laughed at you. I believed I could be a hero when everyone said I couldn't. Tomorrow, we believe we can change everything. She kissed him, deep and desperate and full of all the things they might not have time to say. I love you, she whispered when they broke apart. I know it's fast, I know we've barely known each other, but I love you. I love you too. The words came easily, truthfully. Whatever happens tomorrow, that doesn't change. They held each other in the chapel's quiet darkness, drawing strength for what was to come. Midnight approached. Izuku stood on the hotel's roof, watching the sky. Around him, the city had gone quiet, an unnatural silence as every demon who could hide had hidden, and every demon who would fight had taken position. The coalition was as ready as it would ever be. Weapons distributed, forces positioned, communication lines tested. Angels were coming, and hell was going to fight back. Quite the view. Izuku didn't startle. He'd felt Alastair's approach, the radio demon had a distinctive presence that preceded him. I was wondering if you'd show up. And miss the most entertaining event in centuries? Perished the thought. Alastair materialized fully beside him, grin as sharp as ever. The Green Emperor, defending hell against heaven's army. It's the kind of spectacle I live for. Are you here to help or just watch? Can't it be both? Alastair's smile widened. I've stayed neutral throughout your little revolution, observing, evaluating. But tonight. His eyes gleamed. Tonight, I think I'll participate. Why the change? Because you've proven interesting enough to invest in. Because hell under your influence promises decades more entertainment than hell under heaven's thumb. And because, his expression shifted to something almost sincere. Because Charlie asked me to. Charlie asked you. She came to me yesterday. Explained her position, made her case, asked for my assistance. Alastair chuckled. She's grown, that one. When we first met, she couldn't look me in the eye. Now she negotiates with the radio demon like an equal. That's Charlie. She surprises everyone. Including you. Especially me. Izuku looked back at the sky. The angels will be here soon. If you're going to help, I could use you disrupting their communications. Heaven coordinates through divine frequencies, if you can interfere with those. Already planned, my boy. Great minds and all that. Alastair's form flickered with static. I'll be in the shadows, doing what I do best. You focus on being the hero. It suits you. He vanished, leaving Izuku alone with the waiting silence. Not for long. The sky tore open. They came in waves, angels in white armor, wielding weapons that glowed with holy light. Hundreds of them, pouring through rifts in reality, descending on Pentagram City with killing intent. But this year, hell was ready. Izuku launched himself from the rooftop as the first angels touched down, OFA surging to 30%. He hit the lead angel before it could orient, his fist cratering its armor and sending it crashing into 3 others. Demons of hell. His voice carried across the battlefield, amplified by equipment Carmilla had provided. They come to kill us. They think we can't fight back. Prove them wrong. The city erupted. Carmilla's weapons spoke in thunderous volleys, designed specifically to damage angelic essence. Rosie's forces hit the angels' flanks, overwhelming isolated groups with numbers and savagery. And everywhere, demons who'd never fought back before rose up, defending their homes and families with desperate ferocity. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't clean. Demons died, angels were powerful, their weapons lethal to hellish beings. But for every demon that fell, angels fell too. For the first time in history, heaven's extermination was meeting real resistance. Izuku moved through the chaos like a force of nature. OFA blazed through his body at percentages he'd never sustained before, 35, 40, pushing toward 50. Each blow shattered angelic armor. Each movement saved demonic lives. He wasn't just fighting. He was leading. Every demon who saw him, who saw the Green Emperor hurling angels across city blocks, fought harder. Hope was a weapon too, and Izuku wielded it alongside his fists. Green Emperor. An angel dropped from above, larger than the others, armor more ornate. A commander. I've been looking for you. Izuku barely dodged the strike, holy energy scorching the air where he'd been. He countered with a kick that the angel blocked, the impact sending shockwaves through the street. Heaven's nervous about you. The angel pressed the attack, blade swinging in precise arcs. A mortal leading hell's armies. Blasphemy. Abomination. I've been called worse. Izuku found an opening, drove his fist into the angel's midsection. The armor cracked. Your bosses should try new material. They clashed again and again, trading blows that shattered windows and cratered stone. The angel was powerful, centuries of combat experience behind each movement. But Izuku was faster, smarter, more adaptable. And he had something to protect. OFA surged to 50%. His muscles screamed. His bones ached. But power flooded his limbs, and when he hit the angel this time, it didn't just crack the armor. It broke through entirely. The angel fell, essence dissipating into light, defeated but not permanently killed. Angels regenerated in heaven eventually, but it took time. Time hell could use. Izuku didn't stop to celebrate. There were more enemies, more battles, more people to save. He fought until his body felt like it was tearing itself apart. Hours passed. The battle raged across the city, spreading and contracting as positions were won and lost. Izuku lost track of how many angels he'd fought, dozens at least, maybe hundreds in brief clashes. The coalition was holding. Barely, bloodily, but holding. Then the sky tore open again. This time, what came through was different. A single figure, descending slowly, radiating power that made everything else seem insignificant. White robes, golden wings, a face that might have been handsome if not twisted by perpetual smugness. Which one of you fucks is the Green Emperor? Adam. The first man. Leader of the exorcists. Living embodiment of heaven's worst tendencies. Izuku stepped forward. That would be me. Adam's gaze fixed on him, and the smugness intensified. You're the one causing all this trouble. A fucking mortal. I was expecting something impressive. Sorry to disappoint. Oh, you haven't disappointed yet. Adam descended the rest of the way, landing with a shockwave that sent nearby demons flying. See, I've been looking forward to this. Everyone upstairs is all worried, the prophecies fulfilling, hell's organizing, blah blah blah. But I look at you and I see, a human. Just a human. Nothing special. You're wrong. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you're a fragile meat sack pretending to be important. Adam drew his weapon, a guitar-shaped blade that pulsed with holy energy. Let me show you how wrong you are. He attacked. Izuku had thought the Commander Angel was fast. Adam was something else entirely. The first man moved like light itself, his blades singing through the air in patterns that Izuku could barely track. He took the first hit. Holy energy tore through his side, pain unlike anything he'd experienced. He rolled with it, came up fighting, landed a punch that Adam blocked without effort. That all you got? Adam laughed. Pathetic. No wonder hell needed a human, all these demons and not one of them could fight worth a damn. Izuku ignored the taunting, focused on reading Adam's patterns. There, the slight overextension after the third strike. The momentary pause during the transition between offense and defense. Weaknesses hidden under overwhelming power. He just needed to survive long enough to exploit them. OFA blazed to 60%. His body screamed in protest but he pushed through, matching Adam's speed for a precious few seconds. Long enough to land a clean hit. Adam stumbled. Actually stumbled. What the fuck? Izuku pressed the advantage, chaining strikes together, each one building on the last. Adam recovered quickly, but shock had replaced some of his smugness. This wasn't the easy victory he'd expected. You're actually putting up a fight. Adam's laugh was sharper now. Okay, fine. I was going easy on you, but if you want to dance for real, his power surged. Whatever he'd been using before had been a fraction of his true capability. Izuku felt the difference immediately. Adam's next attack nearly took his head off despite his best efforts to dodge. The following combination opened wounds across his arms and chest, holy energy burning worse than any physical damage. This is what a real fighter looks like. Adam crowed, pressing his advantage mercilessly. You're nothing. You're a bug. Your green lightning exploded from Izuku's body. OFA surged beyond anything he'd achieved before, 70%, 80%, climbing toward levels that might tear him apart. But it didn't matter. Couldn't matter. If he lost here, everyone he loved would die. The vestiges rose within him. Not just as power but as presence. He felt them, all of them, adding their strength to his. All Might's determination. Nana's courage. The others, stretching back generations, united in this moment. Not alone, they whispered. Never alone. Izuku screamed and attacked. The fight that followed would become legend. Hell's new emperor against heaven's first man, clashing with power that shook the city. Buildings crumbled. The ground cratered. Reality itself seemed to bend around the intensity of their conflict. Adam was powerful, more powerful than anything Izuku had ever faced. But power wasn't everything. Strategy mattered. Will mattered. And Izuku had spent his entire life fighting stronger opponents through intelligence and determination. He read Adam's patterns, exploiting the arrogance that left openings. He used Adam's momentum against him, redirecting force rather than opposing it directly. He fought smart even while fighting hard. And slowly, impossibly, he started winning. No. Adam's composure cracked as another of Izuku's attacks got through. This isn't possible. You're just a human. I'm a hero. Izuku's fist connected with Adam's face, sending the first man crashing through a building. And heroes don't give up just because the odds are against them. He followed up, not giving Adam time to recover. OFA at levels that were definitely doing permanent damage, but he couldn't stop, wouldn't stop, not while people depended on him. Adam rose from the rubble, and for the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. What are you? I'm someone who believes in impossible things. Izuku stepped forward, fists raised. And right now, I believe I'm going to beat you. They clashed one final time. Izuku stood over Adam's broken form, breathing hard, body failing in ways he couldn't even count. The first man was defeated. Not dead, angels didn't die permanently, but beaten so thoroughly he couldn't continue fighting. Around them, the battle was turning. Heaven's forces, seeing their leader fall, were faltering. Hell's defenders pressed the advantage. This isn't over, Adam snarled from the ground. Heaven will think before sending armies into hell again. Izuku's voice was steeled despite his exhaustion. Take a message back to your bosses. Hell has an emperor now. The next time you come here, you negotiate. You can't negotiate with heaven. We're heaven. We don't, you do now. Unless you want this to happen again. Izuku leaned closer. I know you don't want this to happen again. Your ego couldn't handle losing twice. Adam's face contorted with rage, but he didn't argue. Couldn't argue, really, the evidence of his defeat was too comprehensive. This isn't over, he repeated weakly. No. It's just beginning. Izuku stepped back. Around him, demons were emerging from shelter, watching. The angels were retreating, carrying their wounded leader through rifts that closed behind them. Hell had won. The cheering started small. One demon, then 10, then hundreds. It spread across the city like wildfire, building into a roar that echoed off ruined buildings and shattered streets. They'd fought back. They'd won. Izuku barely registered it. His legs gave out, exhaustion finally claiming what adrenaline had been holding at bay. He would have collapsed entirely if Charlie hadn't been there to catch him. I've got you. Her face was streaked with tears, of fear, of relief, of joy. I've got you, Izuku. Did we? We won. Thanks to you. Thanks to everyone. She kissed his forehead gently. You were amazing. Hurt everywhere. I know. We're getting you medical attention. She looked up, gesturing to others. Help me carry him. Vaggie appeared on his other side, taking his weight. Angel Dust hovered nearby, for once not making jokes. Even Husk had emerged from the command center, bottle in hand, expression something that might have been pride. They carried him into the hotel, laying him on the first available surface. Healing magic, Hell's version of it, went to work on his wounds. Izuku drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of conversation. Never seen anything like it, actually beat Adam, what does this mean for? He stopped fighting the darkness, letting it take him. He woke to sunlight. Not Hell's red glow, actual sunlight, streaming through a window that definitely hadn't been there before. Izuku sat up slowly, wincing at the lingering aches, and took in his surroundings. He was in a room he didn't recognize. Elegant, well-appointed, with that particular luxury that suggested serious wealth. Through the window, he could see not Pentagram City but some kind of garden, orderly, beautiful, almost paradisiacal. You're awake. Charlie's voice came from beside him. She looked different, more composed, more regal. Wearing a dress that emphasized her royal lineage rather than her hotel manager role. Where are we? The Morningstar Estate. Dad's place. Charlie's smile was nervous. He wanted to talk to you. After everything that happened. Izuku's stomach dropped. Lucifer. He's not going to hurt you. I made him promise. She took his hand. But he does want to meet the man who defeated Adam and apparently fulfilled an ancient prophecy. The prophecy is being discussed extensively. By everyone. Rosie says you're already emperor in everything but name. Carmilla says the formal coronation is just a matter of time. And Mom, Charlie hesitated. Mom's here too. This was a lot to process on what might have been the worst hangover of his life. Give me a minute. Take whatever time you need. They'll wait. She kissed his cheek. I'm proud of you, Izuku. Whatever happens next, know that. She left him alone with his thoughts. Izuku found a mirror and assessed the damage. He looked rough, bandages everywhere, dark circles under his eyes, the kind of pallor that came from pushing too hard for too long. But he was alive. That was something. His hero costume had been replaced with simpler clothes, hell-appropriate but not ostentatious. Someone had taken care of him while he was unconscious. Multiple someones, probably. He thought about the last 24 hours. The battle, the victory, Adam's defeat. Everything he'd been building toward since falling into hell had culminated in that fight. And now? Now he had to figure out what came next. A knock at the door interrupted his contemplation. Come in. Lilith entered. She looked as regal as ever, white hair perfect, bearing that of ancient royalty. But something in her expression was different, softer, maybe. You're alive, she said. I wasn't sure you would be, after that display. Neither was I. The prophecies fulfilled. When mortal heart beats, midst the damned, when kindness blooms in burning sand, the throne of ash shall birth anew, and hell shall crown what heaven threw. She studied him. You're what heaven threw away, or rather, what they never valued. A hero without compromise. I didn't ask for any of this. No. Which is precisely why it's yours. Lilith moved closer, something evaluative in her gaze. I've watched you since you arrived. Tested you. Pushed you. And you've exceeded every expectation. I just did what I thought was right. Exactly. Her smile was complicated. Do you know how rare that is? In hell, in heaven, anywhere. Someone who actually does what they believe is right, regardless of cost or consequence. Where I come from, we call that being a hero. Where you come from, heroes are common enough to have schools for them. Here, you're unprecedented. She reached out, touching his face with surprising gentleness. Lucifer wants to meet you. He's uncertain. His daughter loves you, his realm is transforming, and ancient prophecies are pointing at a mortal who shouldn't even exist here. He doesn't know whether to embrace you or fear you. What should he do? Whatever he decides, it won't change the fundamental reality. Hell has a new emperor. The question is whether you'll take the title formally or let power remain ambiguous. Lilith's eyes met his. What do you want, Izuku Midoriya? It was the question he'd been avoiding. I want to go home. The words came out before he could stop them. I have friends on Earth, family. People who are probably worried sick about me. Part of me has wanted to find a way back since the moment I arrived. And now? Now I have people here too. Charlie. The hotel staff. Everyone who fought beside me. He ran a hand through his hair. If I leave, what happens to them? What happens to everything we built? That's not an answer to my question. Izuku was silent for a moment. Then, I want to make things better. Here, Earth, wherever I end up. That's what heroes do, we go where we're needed and we help. He looked at Lilith directly. Right now, hell needs me more than Earth does. So I'll stay. I'll take whatever title makes sense. And I'll do everything I can to make this realm something worth protecting. Lilith's smile widened. Good answer. Was that a test? Everything's a test. You're getting better at passing them. She stepped back toward the door. Lucifer's waiting. Try not to threaten him too openly, he responds poorly to perceived challenges. I'll keep that in mind. The throne room of the Morningstar estate was exactly as intimidating as Izuku expected. Massive, ornate, filled with symbols and artwork depicting millennia of fallen angel history. At the far end, on a throne that seemed to absorb light, sat Lucifer Morningstar. Charlie's father was smaller than expected. Not physically imposing, not radiating visible power. He looked almost ordinary, a man in an expensive suit, blonde hair perfectly styled, eyes that held depths of ancient experience. But Izuku could feel the power coiled within him. Could feel how easily Lucifer could unmake everything in this room, including Izuku himself. So. Lucifer's voice was casual, almost bored. You're the human my daughter won't shut up about. That's one way to describe me. She says you're a hero. That you saved hell from heaven's army. That you defeated Adam in single combat. Lucifer's eyes narrowed slightly. Is that true? I had a lot of help. The coalition, I don't care about the coalition. I care about you. Lucifer rose from his throne, descending the steps with deliberate slowness. You appeared in my realm uninvited. You destabilized power structures I'd carefully ignored for centuries. You won my daughter's heart while I wasn't paying attention. And now everyone's saying you should rule hell. I never asked for that. No. Which is the only reason we're talking instead of me erasing you from existence. Lucifer stopped in front of him, close enough that Izuku could see the ancient pain behind his casual demeanor. I don't like you, Izuku Midoriya. You represent everything I gave up on, hope, heroism, the belief that things can actually get better. Then why am I still alive? Because Charlie would never forgive me if I killed you. And because, Lucifer's expression flickered. Because maybe I gave up on those things too easily. Maybe watching you fight Adam, watching you rally demons who've never had anything to believe in, maybe it reminded me of who I used to be. Who did you used to be? Someone who believed he could change everything. Someone who stood up to authority he thought was unjust. Lucifer laughed bitterly. Sound familiar? A little. The difference is, I failed. I fell. I became the cautionary tale God uses to keep other angels in line. Lucifer's gaze hardened. What makes you think you'll do better? I don't know that I will. Izuku met his eyes steadily. But I'm going to try anyway. That's all anyone can do. Lucifer was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. All right. You have my blessing, not that you need it. Charlie's already made her choice, and I'm not going to fight my own daughter. He turned back toward his throne. But know this, the throne of hell isn't just a title. It's responsibility. It's weight. It broke me, over time. It might break you too. Then I'll break and keep going. Lucifer paused. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Yeah. I think you might actually do that. He sat back on his throne, waving dismissively. Go. Charlie's waiting. And tell Lilith that if she's going to manipulate my successor, she should at least be subtle about it. I'll pass that along. Charlie practically tackled him when he emerged from the throne room. You're okay. He didn't, I mean, I knew he wouldn't, but, I'm fine. Izuku held her close. He gave his blessing. Sort of. Sort of. It was more like I won't stop you but I also expect you to fail. Very encouraging. Charlie laughed, tension leaving her shoulders. That's basically effusive approval by Dad's standards. They walked through the estate together, Charlie pointing out childhood landmarks, the garden where she'd planned her first redemption ceremony for a pet snake, the room where she'd staged increasingly elaborate protests against the exterminations, the corner where she'd hidden after fights with her parents. It was strange, seeing this side of her. The princess aspect, rather than the hotel manager. But it was still Charlie, still the woman he'd fallen for. "There's going to be a coronation," she said eventually. "Everyone agrees you should be formally recognized as emperor. The coalition won't hold together without clear leadership, and after what you did." "I know. Are you okay with that?" "Really okay?" Izuku considered the question carefully. "I spent my whole life wanting to be a hero. Saving people, making things better. This is just a bigger version of that, I guess. More responsibility, more people depending on me. But the core is the same. And you'll have help. Me, Mom, Carmilla, Rosie, everyone." Charlie squeezed his hand. "You don't have to do this alone. I know. That's what makes it possible." The coronation took place 3 days later. All of Hell's remaining overlords attended, those who'd fought with the coalition and those who'd hidden, waiting to see who won. Carmilla stood at the front, looking satisfied with her investment. Rosie beamed like a proud parent. Even Alastair showed up, lurking in the back with his eternal grin. Charlie stood beside the throne, wearing her formal princess regalia. Lilith occupied a position of honor, watching with eyes that held ancient calculation and something that might have been hope. Lucifer was notably absent, not big on ceremonies, Charlie had explained, but his blessing had been officially proclaimed. The ceremony itself was simple by royal standards. Hell didn't have elaborate traditions the way heaven did, power was usually taken, not given. But this was different. This was a ruler being chosen, acclaimed by those who followed him. When Izuku sat on the throne of ash, ancient and terrible, something shifted. He felt hell itself recognize him, accept him. Power that wasn't his own but was now his to channel. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt right. The Empire of Hell acknowledges its new ruler. The herald's voice echoed through the chamber. Long live Emperor Izuku Midoriya. Long live the Green Emperor. The crowd, demons who'd fought and bled and survived, echoed the cry. Izuku looked out at his people. His responsibility. His kingdom. Beside the throne, Charlie caught his eye and smiled. That night, they gathered in the hotel. The original hotel, maintained even as everything else had changed. Husk behind the bar, serving drinks. Angel Dust sprawled on a couch, actually relaxed for once. Vaggie standing guard by habit, though there was no threat here. And around them, the faces that had become family, Carmilla, Rosie, V who'd come out of hiding to claim her place in the new order. Lilith appeared later, moving through the room with ancient grace. She caught Izuku's eye and nodded, approval, or as close to it as she got. Charlie pulled him onto the balcony, away from the celebration. So. She leaned against the railing, looking out at the city. Emperor of Hell. How does it feel? Surreal. Terrifying. Exhilarating. Izuku joined her at the railing. I keep expecting to wake up and find out this was all a fever dream. It's real. All of it. She turned to face him. We did it, Izuku. We actually did it. We're not done. There's so much work to do, rebuilding, reform, convincing heaven to negotiate instead of exterminate. I know. But tonight can we just celebrate? Be happy that we survived? Tonight, yes. He pulled her close. Tomorrow we change the world. Deal. They kissed as Hell's red sky shifted toward something almost peaceful. Later, much later, when the celebration had wound down and most had gone to bed, Izuku found himself alone on the hotel roof. He thought about everything that had happened. Falling through a dimensional rift. fighting for survival. Building alliances, defeating enemies, falling in love. Becoming something he never expected. He thought about Earth, about the friends and family who probably thought he was dead. About All Might, who'd given him the power that had saved everything. About the life he'd left behind. Maybe someday he'd find a way back. Maybe someday he'd see them again, explain everything that had happened. But for now, his place was here. Hell's Emperor. Charlie's partner. Protector of demons who'd never had anyone to protect them before. Not bad for a kid who'd been told he could never be a hero. Footsteps behind him. He didn't need to turn to know who it was. Couldn't sleep? Charlie asked, joining him at the roof's edge. Too much in my head. I know the feeling. She leaned against him. What are you thinking about? The future. Everything we have to do. Everything that could go wrong. He paused. Whether I'm actually up to this. You are. Her voice was certain. I've never believed in anyone the way I believe in you. That's a lot of faith. You've earned it. She turned him to face her. You fought Heaven's army. You united Hell's factions. You showed everyone that things can change, that we don't have to accept cruelty as inevitable. Her eyes were bright. You're exactly the hero Hell needed. And I'm exactly lucky enough to stand beside you. Partners. Partners. Always. They kissed again, soft and sweet, a promise of everything to come. When they finally headed inside, Izuku felt something he hadn't felt since arriving in Hell. Peace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, Vox still needed dealing with, Heaven would eventually demand negotiation, and ruling Hell was going to require learning curves he couldn't even imagine. But he'd face it all with Charlie beside him. With his allies supporting him. With the power and purpose he'd built over impossible weeks. The Green Emperor had risen. And Hell would never be the same. Epilogue 6 months later. The first diplomatic envoy from Heaven arrived under flag of truce. Angels, actually coming to negotiate rather than exterminate. It was unprecedented. Izuku received them in the throne room, Charlie at his side, Lilith observing from the shadows. Carmilla and Rosie flanked the throne, representing Hell's unified Overlord Council. Even Alastor was present, though he kept to the corners, watching with eternal amusement. The Seraphim Council acknowledges Emperor Izuku Midoriya as the legitimate ruler of Hell, the lead envoy announced, clearly uncomfortable. We come to discuss alternatives to the annual extermination. Izuku kept his expression neutral, but inside he was marveling. They'd actually done it. Changed Hell's relationship with Heaven through force and principle combined. Made the impossible possible. Hell welcomes peaceful dialogue, he said formally. Let's discuss what that looks like. The negotiations would take months. Years, maybe. But they'd started. Change was possible. Redemption was possible. Even for Hell. Charlie squeezed his hand under the table, and Izuku smiled. Being a hero had never felt so good. Later that night, in their private chambers, Charlie curled against him. You know what I realized today, she murmured. What? That everything Dad said was wrong. About hope being pointless, about Hell being irredeemable. You proved all of it wrong. We proved it wrong. Together. Together. She kissed his shoulder. My Emperor. My Empress. I love you. I love you too. More than anything. They held each other as Hell's eternal red sky shifted towards something like dawn. Outside, a realm was transforming. Inside, two hearts beat as one. The story was just beginning. But tonight, they rested. Tomorrow, they'd change everything. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.